This video was made thanks to this awesome request. Thank you for the title suggestion, and happy watching. Before we dive into the video, let's first get to know the legendary Gundam universe. Gundam Mobile Suit Gundam is one of the most iconic Japanese mecha franchises created by Yoshiyuki Tomino and Sunrise. Unlike traditional superhero robot shows, Gundam pioneered the real robot subgenre, treating giant robots not as magical entities, but as mass-produced military weapons, mobile suits driven by human pilots in complex galactic wars. Specifically in Mobile Suit Gundam, Iron-Blooded Orphans, the story takes a raw, gritty turn. It follows Tekkadan, a group of child soldiers on Mars who rebel against their abusive commanders. Operating in a harsh sci-fi universe defined by political corruption, brutal melee combat, and the dangerous Alaya-Vijnana system, a surgical neural interface that links a pilot's spine directly to their mobile suit, Tekkadan fights fiercely for their own survival and freedom.
Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to Quirks. If you're a fan of My Hero Academia, especially awesome fanfiction stories all about Deku, you're definitely in the right place. Before we dive into today's story, don't forget to hit that like button, share this video with your fellow anime fans, and subscribe so you never miss a new upload. Also, if you have an awesome idea or title for the next fanfiction video, drop it in the comment below. I'd love to read your suggestions. And hey, if you want to support the channel even more and keep me extra motivated to create awesome content, consider joining our channel membership. By becoming a member, you'll unlock cool perks like exclusive loyalty badges and custom stickers you can use in the comments. If you've already joined, thank you so much. Your support truly means the world to me and helps keep this channel going. Alright, let's get right into the story.
Mars had never been kind to children. The Red Planet was a world of mining colonies, corporate interests, military contracts, and settlements where survival depended on how much work a person could produce. For children without families, things were worse. They were called human debris. The name was supposed to make them easier to control. At the CGS headquarters on Mars, dozens of them lived in cramped quarters beneath the main facility. They slept in metal bunk beds, ate whatever food was left after the soldiers finished their meals, and spent most of their days performing maintenance work. Some cleaned weapons, some carried ammunition, some repaired mobile workers, others were sent into dangerous areas where adults didn't want to go. Izuku Midoriya was one of them. He was 14 years old. His body was thin from years of poor food and exhausting work, but his green hair made him easy to recognize among the other children. He was sitting beneath a mobile worker that had been stripped down to its internal frame. A small lamp hung from the ceiling. Its weak light illuminated the machine's damaged leg. Izuku held a wrench in one hand and a battered tablet in the other. The hydraulic pressure is dropping too quickly. He stared at the diagram on the tablet. If the seal is replaced here, the actuator should hold for another 40 hours. A boy sitting nearby laughed. "You've been staring at that thing for an hour." Izuku looked up. "Because the manual is wrong." The other boy blinked. "What?" Izuku pointed at the diagram. "The manual says the pressure regulator is connected directly to the secondary valve, but this unit was modified before it was sent here. Someone changed the routing." He crawled farther underneath the machine. "If they replace the regulator without changing the valve setting, it'll rupture." The boy stared at him. "How do you even know that?" Izuku shrugged. "I checked the maintenance records." The boy shook his head. "You're weird." Izuku smiled awkwardly. "Probably." A loud metallic crash suddenly came from the other side of the hangar. Everyone looked toward the sound. A group of older boys were carrying ammunition crates. One of them had dropped a box. "Move," the supervisor shouted. The children immediately scattered. Izuku carefully put his tools aside and crawled out from beneath the mobile worker. He looked toward the main hangar. Several CGS soldiers were preparing their mobile workers. Something was wrong. There were too many weapons being loaded. Izuku watched them closely. Rifles, ammunition, additional armor plates, fuel cells. Are we going somewhere? The boy beside him asked. Izuku didn't answer immediately. He looked at the command officers. Their expressions were tense. Then he noticed several vehicles moving toward the hangar entrance. Probably. The boy swallowed. That's bad. Izuku nodded. Yeah. The alarm sounded 20 minutes later. Warning lights flashed across the facility. Sirens screamed through the corridors. All personnel to defensive positions. Izuku was already moving. He grabbed his jacket and ran toward the storage area. The other human debris followed him. What's happening? I don't know. Izuku stopped at a terminal. He quickly accessed the facility map. Multiple hostile units were approaching. Gjallarhorn. The other boy stared at him. How do you know? Their formation. Izuku zoomed in on the tactical display. 3 mobile suits are approaching from the east. 2 are moving around the main road. They're trying to force the CGS units toward the western hangar. He pointed at the screen. They're separating the defenders. The boy looked confused. So, Izuku's expression became serious. So they're not attacking the base directly. He pointed toward the eastern section. They're trying to cut off the ammunition storage area. Another explosion shook the facility. Boom. Dust fell from the ceiling. Someone screamed. Izuku grabbed the railing to keep himself upright. They're already inside the outer perimeter. The boy's face went pale. What do we do? Izuku looked toward the weapons room. Then toward the hangar. We hide. What? We're human debris. Nobody expects us to fight. The boy hesitated. Izuku grabbed his arm. Come on. They ran. The sound of mobile workers echoed through the base. Metal feet slammed against concrete. Gunfire erupted outside. Izuku and several other children rushed into an equipment room. They locked the door. Everyone remained silent. Boom. The entire building shook. They're getting closer. Someone whispered. Izuku crouched beside the door. He could hear footsteps outside. Adult soldiers shouting. Then another explosion. Crack. The lights flickered. Izuku looked at the emergency display. The western hangar was losing power. The defensive line was collapsing. He clenched his hands. There had to be another way. He looked at the facility map again. The main hangar. The ammunition storage. The command room. The underground maintenance tunnels. His eyes widened. There. What? Izuku pointed at the map. The old maintenance tunnel. One of the children frowned. That's sealed. Not completely. Izuku zoomed in. The tunnel connects to the southern launch bay. Another boy shook his head. The door is reinforced. It's a maintenance door. Izuku looked around. We don't need to destroy it. We just need to override the lock. Can you? Izuku nodded. Probably. He ran toward the terminal. The password system was old. Too old. Izuku had repaired similar terminals dozens of times. He connected a damaged maintenance cable. The screen flickered. Come on. His fingers moved quickly across the keyboard. Access denied. He tried another sequence. Access denied. Come on. Another explosion shook the room. Boom. The children ducked. Izuku gritted his teeth. He tried the emergency maintenance code. The screen turned green. Access granted. Yes. The door mechanism began moving. Clunk, clunk, clunk. The heavy metal door slowly opened. Everyone, move. The children ran into the tunnel. Izuku remained behind for a few seconds. He looked toward the equipment room. A group of armed soldiers appeared at the far end of the corridor. One of them saw him. Hey, Izuku froze. The soldier raised his rifle. Izuku ran. Gunfire erupted behind him. Bang. The bullet struck the wall. Izuku sprinted through the tunnel. His heart hammered against his chest. He reached the others. Faster. They ran. The southern launch bay was abandoned. Old mobile workers stood in rows beneath sheets of dust. Izuku stopped. His eyes moved across the machines. Most were useless. Some had missing limbs. Others had damaged control systems. One particular unit caught his attention. It was an old mobile worker with a heavily reinforced frame. Its armor was scratched and covered in rust. One arm was missing. The cockpit was partially exposed. Izuku walked toward it. "That's junk," one of the boys said. Izuku didn't answer. He climbed onto the machine. The cockpit hatch was jammed. He pulled it open. Inside was an outdated control system. Izuku examined the interface. "This one isn't completely dead. You can't pilot it." "I can try." "You'll get killed." Izuku looked at him. "We'll get killed if we stay here." The boy didn't answer. Izuku climbed inside. The cockpit smelled like old metal and oil. He connected the power line. Nothing happened. He checked the reactor. Damaged. He checked the emergency battery. Empty. Of course. He reached into his tool bag. "Give me 2 minutes." Outside, the battle continued. The sound of mobile workers grew louder. Then something massive crashed into the southern hangar wall. Boom. The entire building shook. Metal collapsed from the ceiling. The children screamed. Izuku looked upward. Dust filled the cockpit. "We don't have 2 minutes." He grabbed a spare power cell. The cell wasn't compatible. He didn't care. He stripped the connector. Rewired it manually. Sparks flew. Crack. The cockpit suddenly illuminated. The machine's monitor turned on. Power restored. Izuku stared at the controls. His breathing slowed. He had never piloted a mobile worker before. But he had studied them for years. Every movement, every weapon system, every control layout. He knew how they worked. He placed his hands on the controls. "Please work." The mobile worker moved. Its damaged leg dragged across the floor. Scrape. Izuku adjusted the balance. The machine stopped shaking. "It works." The children stared at him. "Izuku, get behind the transport containers." He looked through the cockpit window. "I'll distract them." "You're crazy." "Probably." Izuku pushed the controls forward. The old mobile worker stepped into the battlefield. The enemy mobile suit entered the hangar. It was far more advanced than Izuku's machine. Its armor was clean. Its weapon system was modern. Its rifle immediately turned toward him. Izuku's eyes widened. Too fast. The enemy fired. Bang. Izuku pulled the controls. The mobile worker stumbled sideways. The shot passed through its shoulder. Sparks erupted. Not good. Another shot. Izuku moved again. This time, he anticipated the attack. The enemy fired where he had been standing. Izuku swung the mobile worker's damaged arm. The machine slammed into the enemy. Crash. Both units stumbled. The enemy pilot recovered first. Izuku looked at the radar. 3 enemies. His eyes moved between the displays. 1 damaged unit on the left. He turned. The enemy attacked. Izuku lowered his machine. The enemy's weapon passed over his cockpit. Izuku grabbed the opponent's arm. The old mobile worker's servos screamed. "Come on." He pulled. The enemy lost balance. Izuku kicked the machine's leg. The enemy crashed onto its back. Boom. Izuku immediately turned toward the second enemy. A projectile struck his mobile worker's chest. The cockpit shook violently. Warning lights flashed. Armor integrity 40%. Izuku swallowed. He looked at the battlefield. Then he saw something. The enemy units were following the same formation. Left, right, center. The lead unit always waited for the other 2 to reposition. Izuku understood. They're coordinating through the center unit. He grabbed the radio. "Can anyone hear me?" Static. Then a voice answered. "Who is this?" Izuku looked at the enemy formation. "I'm in the southern hangar. There's a command unit coordinating the attack." "What?" "Destroy the center unit and their formation will collapse." The voice hesitated. "Who are you?" Izuku ignored the question. "Just trust me." He pushed the controls. The mobile worker accelerated. A larger mobile suit suddenly appeared through the smoke. It carried a massive weapon. Izuku recognized the frame. His eyes widened. That's not a mobile worker. The machine moved with terrifying speed. It swung its weapon. Izuku barely raised his arm. Clang. The old mobile worker was thrown backward. It crashed through a wall. Boom. Izuku's head struck the cockpit frame. Blood ran down his forehead. His vision blurred. He forced himself upright. The enemy approached. Izuku looked at its movement. The pilot was aggressive. Too aggressive. There was an opening. A tiny one. Izuku smiled. "Got you." He pushed the controls. The damaged mobile worker charged directly toward the enemy. The enemy raised its weapon. Izuku suddenly stopped. The enemy's strike passed in front of him. Izuku turned sideways. The mobile worker's remaining arms slammed into the enemy's cockpit. Crash. The enemy staggered. Izuku grabbed the machine's weapon and pulled. The weapon tore free. He immediately threw it aside. The enemy tried to retreat. Izuku followed. He struck the leg. Once. Twice. The enemy fell. Izuku raised his arm. Then stopped. The enemy cockpit was directly in front of him. He could destroy it. He knew exactly where to hit. But there was someone inside. Izuku lowered his arm. "Get out." The enemy pilot didn't respond. Izuku aimed the damaged mobile worker's weaponless arm at the cockpit. "Get out." The enemy suddenly fired a hidden weapon. Izuku twisted away. The projectile missed. Izuku grabbed the enemy unit and slammed it into the ground. Boom. The pilot ejected. Izuku stared at the escaping pod. He had won. Then a deep mechanical roar echoed across the battlefield. Roar. Izuku turned. Another mobile suit appeared through the smoke. This one was different. White armor. Blue sections. Red accents. A golden crest. A massive sword rested in its hand. The mobile suit moved through the battlefield as if the enemy machines were nothing. It swung the sword. Clang. An enemy mobile suit was split apart. Another attacked from behind. The white mobile suit turned. Crash. Its weapon tore through the enemy's armor. Izuku stared. He had never seen anything move like that. The machine wasn't fighting like a machine. It moved like a living predator. A voice came through the radio. "Are you with the enemy?" Izuku blinked. "No." "Then stay out of my way." The white mobile suit charged past him. Izuku watched it destroy another enemy unit. He recognized the machine from old military records. A Gundam frame. His eyes widened. Barbados. The pilot didn't answer. Izuku looked at the machine's movements. Then at his own battered mobile worker. His machine was slow, weak, barely functional. But the pilot of Barbados was incredibly skilled. Izuku quickly calculated the remaining enemy positions. 3 units approaching from the east. The radio remained silent. Izuku switched channels. "Barbados. What? There are 3 units behind you." A pause. "I know." Izuku looked at the radar. "No, you don't." He pointed the mobile worker toward the enemy formation. "They're waiting for you to engage the front unit. The other 2 will attack from both sides." The white mobile suit stopped. Then turned. Izuku's prediction proved correct. 3 enemy machines emerged from the smoke. The pilot of Barbados laughed quietly. "You're pretty smart." Izuku gripped the controls. "Just watch their formation." Barbados raised its massive weapon. "Then keep watching." Izuku moved his damaged mobile worker alongside the Gundam. The 2 machines charged together. The enemy formation broke. Barbados struck the center. Izuku attacked the left. 1 enemy unit tried to flank him. Izuku reversed. The enemy fired. He dodged. Then struck its knee joint. The machine collapsed. Barbados finished the second. The final enemy unit attempted to retreat. Izuku opened the radio. Don't let it reach the command ship. Barbados accelerated. The Gundam crossed the battlefield in seconds. Its weapon came down. Crash. The enemy unit stopped moving. Silence returned. For several seconds, only smoke drifted through the hangar. Izuku looked at the white Gundam. The cockpit opened. A boy with short blue hair looked toward him. "You're good." Izuku stared. "You too." The boy's expression remained calm. "Mikazuki Augus." Izuku hesitated. "Izuku Midoriya." Mikazuki looked at the battered mobile worker. "That's yours." Izuku looked down at the machine. "For now." Mikazuki nodded. "Then fix it." Izuku smiled faintly. "That's the plan." The battle was not over yet. But the first defensive line had collapsed. Inside the CGS headquarters, the surviving children began gathering. Some were injured. Some were crying. Others simply stared at the battlefield. Izuku climbed out of the mobile worker. His hands were shaking. He looked toward the damaged machine. He had survived. More importantly, the others had survived. Mikazuki walked past him. "Orga is looking for you." Izuku looked confused. "Why?" Mikazuki shrugged. "He said he needs someone who can think." Izuku looked toward the command building. Outside, the red dust of Mars blew across the battlefield. He followed Mikazuki. For the first time, Izuku Midoriya wasn't walking toward another maintenance job. He was walking toward the beginning of something much larger. And somewhere inside the damaged CGS headquarters, Orga Itsuka was preparing to change the fate of every child who had been treated as human debris. The medical room smelled like disinfectant and machine oil. Izuku sat on the edge of a narrow metal bed with his shirt removed. A thin line of bruising ran across his back from an old accident. In front of him, a medical technician studied a holographic scan of his spine. "You're sure about this?" Izuku nodded. "Yes." The technician turned the display toward him. "The Alaya-Vijnana system isn't a normal neural interface. The connection will be made directly through the spine." Izuku looked at the diagram. Several small devices were arranged along the spinal column. "I know." "No, you don't." The technician's voice became sharper. "You've seen the diagrams. That's not the same as knowing what happens when the system is inside your body." Izuku remained silent. The technician continued. "If the synchronization fails, you could lose movement in your legs." Izuku looked down. "I know. You could lose movement permanently." "I know. You could suffer nerve damage." Izuku nodded. "I know." The technician sighed. "Then why?" Izuku looked toward the closed door. Outside, several children were being treated for injuries from the attack. Some had burns. Some had broken bones. One boy had lost part of his left arm. Izuku's hands tightened. "Because next time, I want to be able to do something." The technician stared at him. "You fought yesterday. I was inside a mobile worker that could barely move. You still survived." "Barely." Izuku looked at the scan. "Mikazuki had Barbados. I had scrap metal." He paused. "If another attack happens, I don't want everyone depending on luck." The technician looked away. "You're 14. So, you're 14. Izuku didn't answer. The technician finally shut down the hologram. "The surgery will begin in 1 hour." Izuku nodded. "Thank you." Outside the medical room, Mikazuki was sitting against the wall. He was eating a piece of bread. Izuku stopped when he saw him. "You've been waiting." Mikazuki took another bite. "Orga told me to." Izuku sat beside him. "How long?" 20 minutes. "Oh." Mikazuki continued eating. Izuku looked toward the corridor. "How is Barbados?" "Damaged." "How badly?" "Not badly enough." Izuku smiled. "That's good." Mikazuki looked at him. "You're getting the surgery." Izuku nodded. "Yes." "Why?" Izuku looked at him. "You heard. Orga told me." "Right." Mikazuki took another bite. "It hurts." Izuku blinked. "What?" "The surgery." Mikazuki spoke casually. The first time hurts. Izuku stared at him. You've had it. Yes. How many? Mikazuki thought for a moment. 3. Izuku looked surprised. 3. Mikazuki nodded. The first one wasn't enough. And the second wasn't enough either. Izuku looked toward the medical room. Does it get easier? No. Izuku laughed nervously. Great. Mikazuki finished his bread. But you get used to the connection. Izuku nodded slowly. That's what I'm hoping for. Mikazuki stood. Good luck. He walked away. Izuku watched him leave. Then he looked at the door. His stomach tightened. 1 hour later, Izuku was lying on the operating table. Lights hung directly above him. Several medical technicians stood around the table. A small metal device rested beside the surgical instruments. The Alaya-Vijnana implant. Izuku stared at it. It was smaller than he expected. The technician noticed. Looks harmless, doesn't it? Izuku nodded. Yes, it isn't. The technician adjusted the equipment. Once it's connected, your nervous system will communicate directly with the mobile worker. Izuku took a slow breath. Will I feel everything? The machine's movement? Yes, to some extent. Izuku swallowed. And damage? You'll feel the feedback. He looked at the ceiling. Okay. The technician prepared the injection. This will put you under. Izuku closed his eyes. Wait. The technician stopped. What? Izuku looked toward him. If something goes wrong, don't. Just listen. The technician remained silent. If something goes wrong, don't waste time trying to save the implant. Izuku's expression hardened. Save the children. The technician stared at him. You really are an idiot. Izuku smiled weakly. I've been told that before. The injection entered his arm. His vision became blurry. The room slowly disappeared. Pain. That was the first thing Izuku felt. Sharp. Deep. Unbearable. His entire body seemed to tense at once. He couldn't move. He couldn't speak. The surgical team worked around him. Hold the spine steady. Implant ready. Neural interface positioned. Begin connection. A sudden jolt ran through his body. Izuku's fingers twitched. His heart rate spiked. We're getting a rejection response. Stabilize it. The signal is fluctuating. Again. Another jolt. Izuku's back arched. His mouth opened. No sound came out. His neural activity is too high. Reduce the connection. We can't. We're already at minimum. Then synchronize manually. The technician placed his hand over the controls. Come on, kid. The implant activated. For 1 second, everything went silent. Then Izuku saw something. Not the operating room. A machine. A mobile worker. He could see through its camera. He could feel its arms. Its legs. Its weight. He moved his hand. The machine moved. Izuku's eyes opened. We have synchronization. The room erupted into movement. Neural response stable. Motor response. The technician checked the monitor. Perfect. Then Izuku's body suddenly went rigid. Wait. The monitor began screaming. Neural overload. Disconnect. We can't. Why? The interface is locked. Izuku's vision filled with static. He felt the mobile worker. Then he felt the ground beneath it. He could sense every vibration. Every movement. Every mechanical joint. The machine suddenly seemed like an extension of his own body. He could feel everything. Too much. Shut it down. The technician slammed the emergency control. Nothing happened. It's not responding. Izuku's heart rate climbed. The machine inside his mind moved. One step. Another. Izuku couldn't control it. Stop. His voice was barely audible. Stop. The technician struggled with the system. Then the signal suddenly stabilized. Izuku collapsed against the table. Silence. The monitors returned to normal. The lead technician exhaled. He's stable. Another technician wiped sweat from his forehead. That was close. Izuku woke several hours later. His eyes opened slowly. White ceiling. Medical lights. He tried to move. Pain immediately spread through his back. Ah, he stopped. The technician sitting nearby noticed. Don't move too quickly. Izuku looked around. How long? 7 hours. Izuku blinked. 7. You had complications. Izuku tried to sit up. The technician stopped him. Slowly. Izuku obeyed. His legs moved. He stared at them. Then he moved his fingers. His hands responded. He let out a quiet breath. I can move. Yes. Everything. For now. Izuku looked at the technician. For now. Your body needs time to adapt. Izuku nodded. Okay. The technician handed him a glass of water. The implant is functioning. Izuku drank. When can I pilot? Not today. Tomorrow. Absolutely not. 2 days. The technician glared at him. Izuku looked away. Right. Later that evening, Orga entered the room. He closed the door behind him. Izuku was sitting against the wall with a tablet on his knees. You should be resting. Izuku looked up. I am. Orga glanced at the tablet. You're reading combat reports while resting. Orga sighed. You're impossible. Izuku smiled. That's what Mikazuki said. Orga pulled up a chair. How are you feeling? My back hurts. Anything else? Izuku thought. Everything feels louder. Orga frowned. Louder. When I close my eyes, I can still feel the machine. Orga's expression became serious. Does it hurt? Not exactly. Izuku moved his fingers. It's like I know where the machine is even when I'm not inside it. Orga leaned back. That's the Alaya-Vijnana. Izuku nodded. It works. Apparently. Orga looked at him for several seconds. I heard what you did yesterday. Izuku lowered his eyes. I didn't do much. You predicted their formation. Anyone could have seen it. No. Orga shook his head. They couldn't. Izuku remained quiet. Orga leaned forward. That's why I wanted to talk to you. Izuku looked up. About what? The future. Izuku frowned. Orga continued. CGS is falling apart. Izuku's expression changed. Because of the attack. Because of everything. Orga placed a data tablet on the table. The adults who command us don't care about us. Izuku looked at the information. I know. They'll keep sending us into battles until we're dead. Izuku stared at the screen. Orga's voice became quieter. I don't want that anymore. Izuku looked at him. What are you planning? Orga didn't answer immediately. Then he smiled. Something dangerous. Izuku's eyes narrowed. How dangerous? Dangerous enough to change everything. That night, Izuku couldn't sleep. He stood alone in the corridor. The base was unusually quiet. He walked toward the hangar. His footsteps echoed. Tap, tap, tap. He entered the maintenance area. His battered mobile worker stood beneath the lights. The machine had been partially repaired. New armor plates covered the damaged shoulder. Izuku approached it. He placed one hand against the metal. The Alaya-Vijnana implant activated. For an instant, he could feel the machine. Its weight, its structure, its remaining power, its damaged joints. Izuku closed his eyes. Not enough. He looked at the mobile worker. You need a better control system. His eyes moved across the machine. Better balance. He crouched beside the leg. And stronger joints. He took out his tablet. Within minutes, a new design began appearing on the screen. He added reinforced joints, changed the hydraulic layout, repositioned the armor. Then he paused. A thought entered his mind. He opened the weapon specifications. A pile bunker. He stared at the design. Then smiled. That might work. Behind him, a voice spoke. You're supposed to be sleeping. Izuku turned. Mikazuki stood at the entrance. I couldn't. Mikazuki walked closer. He looked at the tablet. What are you building? A better mobile worker. Why? Because I'm going to need it. Mikazuki looked at him. Orga said we're changing the name. Izuku blinked. What? The group. Mikazuki looked toward the hangar. He says we're not going to be human debris anymore. Izuku slowly smiled. What are we called? Mikazuki answered simply. Tekkadan. Izuku looked back at the machine. The name stayed in his mind. Tekkadan. Iron Flower Brigade. He returned to the design. Then this machine needs a name too. Mikazuki tilted his head. What name? Izuku looked at the green paint on the damaged armor. I don't know yet. He continued working. Outside the hangar, the red dust of Mars swept across the base. The old CGS facility was still standing. But its days were numbered. And inside its walls, a group of children had begun preparing to tear down the world that had treated them as disposable. The next morning, the CGS base was unusually quiet. Not peaceful, quiet. There was a difference. The surviving soldiers were busy repairing the damage from the previous battle. Damaged mobile workers were being dragged back into the hangar, ammunition was being counted, and the medical staff were still treating the wounded. But something had changed. The human debris were no longer waiting for orders. They were watching. Izuku noticed it immediately. Children who normally lowered their heads whenever an adult soldier passed were now standing together in small groups. Some whispered. Others watched the officers. Everyone seemed to be waiting for something. Izuku walked through the corridor toward the maintenance hangar. His back still hurt from the Alaya-Vijnana surgery. Every step sent a dull sensation through his spine, but he ignored it. He had spent most of the night modifying the design of his mobile worker. The old machine had been completely dismantled. Its armor was scattered across the floor. Its hydraulic systems were being replaced. The cockpit had been rebuilt around the Alaya-Vijnana interface. Izuku stood beside it with a tablet in his hand. The balance is better. He checked the numbers. But the left leg still has too much load. A younger boy holding a wrench looked up. Should we reinforce it? No. Izuku pointed at the leg. That'll make it heavier. He opened another schematic. Change the actuator angle instead. The boy nodded. Got it. He began working. Izuku looked around. Several human debris were helping with repairs. Nobody had ordered them to. They simply came. That alone made Izuku suspicious. Then he heard footsteps. Orga entered the hangar. Mikazuki followed behind him. Orga looked around. Everyone's here. A boy near the mobile worker nodded. Almost. Orga walked toward the center of the hangar. Then listen. The conversation stopped. Izuku put his tablet away. Orga looked at all of them. The adults are planning to abandon this base. Several children exchanged looks. What? Orga continued. They've already started moving supplies. A boy stepped forward. Where are they going? Away. Orga's expression hardened. They're leaving us behind. Silence. One of the children clenched his fists. They can't. They can. Orga looked toward the main command building. That's what they always do. Izuku stared at him. How long? Orga looked at him. Until the evacuation. Izuku nodded. How long do we have? Less than a day. Izuku immediately began calculating. How many soldiers? Not enough to defend the base. How many mobile workers? 12 operational. Ammunition. Barely enough for one major engagement. Izuku frowned. Then we're trapped. Orga nodded. Unless we take control of the base. The hangar became completely silent. Izuku looked at him. You're serious? Yes. If we fail, Orga looked around. We die anyway. Nobody argued. Later that day, Izuku and Orga sat inside an abandoned storage room. A map of the CGS facility was projected between them. Mikazuki stood against the wall. The command center is here. Izuku pointed toward the main building. The adults have control of the weapons. Orga nodded. We need to take that first. And the communications room. Why? Because if they call for reinforcements, we're finished. Orga nodded. Then communications first. Izuku looked at the map. There's another problem. What? The mobile workers. Orga frowned. What about them? The best units are under adult control. Izuku pointed toward the hangar. If we take the base but can't control the mobile workers, it won't matter. Mikazuki spoke. I can handle them. Izuku looked at him. How many? All of them. Orga smiled faintly. That's why I brought you. Mikazuki didn't react. Izuku studied the map again. We don't need to destroy them. Orga looked at him. What? We disable them. Izuku highlighted several locations. The maintenance bay connects to the fuel lines. He moved his finger. If we cut the hydraulic supply here, most of their units won't be able to move properly. Orga stared at the map. You can do that. Yes. Izuku zoomed in. But someone needs to get inside. Mikazuki stepped forward. I'll do it. Izuku shook his head. No. Mikazuki looked at him. Why? Because they'll notice you. Izuku pointed toward the maintenance corridor. Everyone knows you pilot Barbados. Mikazuki remained silent. They don't pay attention to me. Izuku tapped his chest. I'm still just a human debris. Orga smiled. That's exactly why you'll do it. Izuku nodded. Then I'll go. The operation began after midnight. The human debris moved through the maintenance tunnels in small groups. Izuku crawled through a narrow ventilation shaft. His tablet showed the facility layout. 3 meters. He stopped. Left. He turned. Another 5. He reached a maintenance panel. He removed the cover. Inside were several hydraulic control lines. He studied them. If I disconnect this one. He stopped. Something didn't make sense. The line was newer than the others. Izuku frowned. They upgraded this. He checked the connection. This isn't part of the original system. A voice whispered through the radio. Midoriya. Izuku pressed the receiver. Yes. How long? 2 minutes. Make it 1. Izuku sighed. I'm working on it. He carefully disconnected the modified line. Sparks flew. Crack. He pulled the cable free. Somewhere below him, machinery stopped. Then another. Then another. The mobile workers had begun losing hydraulic pressure. Done. He whispered. Good. Orga's voice answered. Everyone move. The first gunshot echoed through the base. Bang. Then another. Bang. The adult soldiers realized what was happening. The children. Someone shouted. They're attacking. Alarms began screaming. Izuku climbed out of the ventilation shaft. He found himself inside the main maintenance corridor. 2 armed soldiers appeared. Izuku froze. One raised his weapon. Stop. Izuku ran. The soldier fired. Bang. The shot hit the wall. Izuku slid behind a metal crate. His heart pounded. He looked around. There was a maintenance drone nearby. He grabbed it. Come on. He ripped open its control panel. His fingers moved quickly. He rewired the signal. The drone suddenly activated. It flew directly toward the soldiers. One soldier ducked. What the hell? The drone exploded against the wall. Boom. Smoke filled the corridor. Izuku ran through it. He reached the communications room. The door was locked. He pulled out his tablet. Password. He tried the emergency code. Denied. Another. Denied. Seriously. Footsteps approached. Izuku looked behind him. 3 soldiers were coming. He opened the maintenance interface. Come on. He bypassed the security system. Access granted. The door opened. Izuku rushed inside. He immediately disconnected the external communication system. The signal disappeared. Done. He breathed. Then someone grabbed him from behind. Izuku slammed into the floor. Got you. An adult soldier pinned his arm. You little rat. Izuku struggled. Let go. The soldier laughed. You think you can overthrow us? Izuku looked at him. Yes. The soldier raised his fist. Before he could strike, crash. The door exploded inward. The soldier turned. Mikazuki stood there. His expression was completely calm. The soldier reached for his weapon. Mikazuki moved first. 1 strike. The soldier collapsed. Izuku stared. "You could have warned me. You were fine." Izuku stood. "I wasn't." Mikazuki looked at him. "You are now." Izuku sighed. "Thanks." Outside, the battle had begun. Mobile workers moved through the base. Most of them were struggling because of the damaged hydraulic systems. The human debris had taken control of several machines. But the adult soldiers still had enough units to resist. Orga stood on the roof of the command building. "All units, move toward the western hangar." A voice answered. "We're surrounded." "Then break through." Izuku climbed into his modified mobile worker. The cockpit closed around him. The Alaya-Vijnana system activated. His vision changed. The machine suddenly became part of his body. He felt the ground, the weight of the frame, the pressure in the hydraulic systems. His fingers moved. The mobile worker responded. "One step. 2. Izuku smiled. "Much better." He opened the radio. "Orga." "Yes. I'm moving toward the western hangar." "Good. But there's a problem." "What?" Izuku looked at the tactical display. "They're regrouping." He zoomed in. The remaining adult soldiers are forming a defensive line around the command center. Orga was silent. "Can you break it?" Izuku looked at the enemy formation. "With this machine," he smiled. "Probably." The mobile worker charged. Its heavy feet struck the ground. Boom. An enemy unit fired. Izuku moved sideways. The projectile passed him. He accelerated. The machine slammed its shoulder into the enemy. Crash. The enemy fell. Izuku pulled the mobile worker's pile bunker into position. The weapon fired. Boom. The spike punched through the enemy's armor. The machine stopped moving. Izuku immediately turned. Another enemy attacked from the side. He raised his arm. Clang. The impact shook the cockpit. His back screamed. Izuku gritted his teeth. "Not now." He pushed forward. The mobile worker grabbed the enemy's arm. Izuku twisted. The joint snapped. Crack. The enemy fell. Then a familiar sound echoed across the battlefield. Boom. Barbados landed. Mikazuki swung his weapon. A mobile worker was destroyed in a single strike. Izuku watched him. "He's already there." Mikazuki opened the radio. "Midoriya." "Yes." 3 behind you." Izuku looked at the radar. 3 enemy units were approaching. "Thanks." He turned. The first fired. Izuku dodged. The second charged. Izuku stepped aside. The third attacked. Izuku activated the pile bunker. Boom. The weapon struck the enemy's torso. The machine collapsed. The other 2 hesitated. That was enough. Izuku moved between them. He struck the first. Then the second. Both fell. Mikazuki finished the remaining units. The western hangar was theirs. Inside the command center, the CGS officers were panicking. "We're losing control. How many units remain?" 5. "What about communications?" "Gone." "Who shut it down?" Nobody answered. Orga entered the room. His weapon was pointed directly at the commander. The man stared at him. "You." Orga's face was cold. "Yes. You think you can run this organization?" Orga looked around. "No." He glanced toward the soldiers who had surrendered. "I think we can run something better." The commander laughed. "Children." Orga stepped closer. "We're not children anymore." The room became silent. "You treated us like tools." Orga lowered his weapon. "So we're taking the tools." He turned toward the others. "From now on, nobody takes orders from these men." The human debris began entering the command center. One by one, they stood behind Orga. Izuku arrived shortly afterward. His mobile worker stopped outside the building. Mikazuki climbed out of Barbados. Orga looked at both of them. Then he looked at everyone else. "We have no home." The children listened. "No families. No protection. No future." Orga clenched his fist. "So we'll make one." He turned toward the flag hanging above the command center. The old CGS insignia. "This place is finished." He tore the insignia down. The fabric fell to the floor. Izuku watched silently. Orga looked at him. Midoriya. Yes. You said yesterday that the name needed to mean something. Izuku nodded. Orga smiled. Then remember this. He looked at the others. We're Tekkadan. Mikazuki stood beside him. Izuku looked at the children around him. For the first time, nobody was standing in a corner waiting to be ordered around. They were standing together. The old CGS flag was removed from the roof. In its place, the new flag was raised. A red symbol spread across a dark background. The wind caught it. It snapped loudly. Crack. Izuku looked up. The surgery in his back still hurt. His mobile worker was barely more than a repaired machine. The organization had almost no money. They had enemies everywhere, but they had something they hadn't possessed before. Choice. Mikazuki walked toward Izuku. What are you going to call your mobile worker? Izuku looked at the battered machine. He thought about the green armor plates, the reinforced joints, the pile bunker, the strange way the machine moved through the battlefield. Then he smiled. I think I'll call it Emerald. Mikazuki nodded. Good name. Izuku looked toward the rising sun over Mars. Behind him, the flag of Tekkadan continued to wave. The old order had fallen, and the children who had once been called human debris had just taken their first step toward becoming something the world would never be able to ignore. The sun had barely risen over Mars when Izuku entered the maintenance hangar. The new flag of Tekkadan was still visible through the open hangar doors, moving slowly in the morning wind. The base felt different. There were still damaged walls, burned out equipment, broken mobile workers, and several sections of the facility had lost power. But the people inside no longer moved like prisoners. They were busy. Some repaired weapons, others checked ammunition. A few older boys worked on the transport vehicles while the younger ones carried tools and spare parts. Izuku walked toward the mobile worker standing in the center of the hangar. Emerald. The machine had barely been recognizable 2 days earlier. Now it had a reinforced frame, modified hydraulic systems, improved armor plating, and a rebuilt cockpit. The original paint had mostly been removed. Izuku had painted several sections green. Not because the color had any tactical advantage. He simply liked it. He stood in front of the machine and looked at the pile bunker mounted on its right arm. Still ugly. Mikazuki's voice came from behind him. Izuku turned. You don't have to insult it. I wasn't. Mikazuki walked closer. I was saying it's ugly. Izuku sighed. That's the same thing. Mikazuki looked at Emerald. Can it keep up with Barbados? Izuku looked at him. No. Then I'll have to slow down. Izuku smiled. Don't worry. I'll catch up. Orga entered the hangar carrying a tablet. You too. Izuku looked toward him. Yes. We've got a problem. Izuku immediately became serious. Gjallarhorn. Not yet. Orga placed the tablet on a nearby crate. A map of the region appeared. We intercepted a transmission. Izuku moved closer. From where? An independent security company. Orga zoomed in. They're heading toward the base. Izuku studied the route. How many? We don't know. What's their estimated arrival? Less than 30 minutes. Izuku's eyes narrowed. That's too fast. Orga nodded. Exactly. Mikazuki looked at the map. Are they attacking? Probably. Izuku examined the surrounding terrain. What do they want? Orga looked at him. The base. Why? Because we took it. Izuku stared at the map. Then his eyes widened. They're not coming for us. Orga frowned. What? They're coming for the supplies. Izuku pointed toward a marked area. The old CGS storage depot. Orga looked confused. That's nearly empty. The weapons are. Izuku moved the map. But the fuel cells aren't. Orga's expression changed. You're right. Izuku nodded. If they control the fuel depot, they can force us out. Mikazuki looked toward the hangar. Then we defend it. Orga nodded. Exactly. The Tekkadan members moved quickly. The transport vehicles were positioned behind the main buildings. The damaged mobile workers were placed along the outer perimeter. Barbados stood at the front. Emerald stood beside it. Izuku climbed into the cockpit. The hatch closed. The world changed. The Alaya-Vijnana system activated. A faint pulse traveled through his spine. Izuku gritted his teeth. The connection stabilized. His vision filled with data. Distance, temperature, movement, weight distribution, hydraulic pressure. The mobile worker felt almost like his own body. He moved one finger. Emerald raised its arm. He moved his leg. Emerald stepped forward. Izuku smiled. Perfect. A voice came through the radio. Midoriya. Yes, Orga, how's your machine? Izuku looked at the weapons display. Ready. Good. Orga paused. Don't get reckless. Izuku blinked. You said that to Mikazuki too. Yes. Mikazuki's voice came over another channel. He didn't listen. Orga sighed. I know. Izuku laughed quietly. Then the radar beeped. Once. Twice. Then continuously. Multiple contacts. Izuku looked toward the horizon. Dust rose in the distance. They're here. The first enemy mobile worker appeared through the dust. Then another. Then another. Izuku counted them. 8. Orga answered immediately. 8. 8 mobile workers. That's more than expected. Izuku zoomed in. They're carrying long-range weapons. Mikazuki's voice came through. I'll take the left. Izuku looked at the formation. No. Silence. Mikazuki replied. Why? They want you there. Izuku marked 3 units. These 3 are covering the center. He marked another group. The others are trying to push us toward the fuel depot. Mikazuki paused. So they're separating us. Mikazuki understood. Then what? Izuku looked at the terrain. We reverse it. Emerald moved forward. Its feet slammed into the red soil. Boom. The enemy immediately opened fire. Bang. 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 Izuku shifted the machine sideways. 3 projectiles passed him. 1 struck the ground. Dust exploded upward. Izuku lowered Emerald's center of gravity. Too predictable. He accelerated. The enemy pilot attempted to track him. Izuku changed direction. Left. Right. Left again. The enemy missed. Emerald reached the first unit. Izuku raised the pile bunker. The enemy lifted its shield. Izuku didn't attack. He kicked the shield aside. The enemy stumbled. Emerald grabbed its shoulder. Izuku twisted. Crack. The enemy's weapon fell. He struck the mobile worker's arm. The machine dropped to one knee. Izuku immediately moved away. Another projectile flew past. They're adjusting. He looked at the radar. 2 units were approaching from behind. Mikazuki. I see them. Barbados suddenly accelerated. It crossed the battlefield like a missile. Its massive weapon struck the first enemy. Crash. The machine flew backward. The second attacked. Barbados blocked the strike. Metal screamed against metal. Clang. Mikazuki pushed forward. The enemy lost balance. Barbados struck again. Boom. The machine collapsed. Izuku watched for half a second. He really is fast. Then his danger sensors reacted. Not an actual quirk. Just instinct. Izuku immediately moved Emerald. A projectile struck the ground where he had been standing. Boom. He looked upward. Long-range artillery. Orga answered. Where? Izuku checked the trajectory. East. He pointed the machine toward the distant ridge. 2 artillery units. Can you reach them? Izuku smiled. Yes. Emerald charged. The mobile worker crossed the battlefield at full speed. Its hydraulic system screamed under the strain. Izuku could feel the machine's vibrations through the Alaya-Vijnana. His back began to hurt. He ignored it. Faster. The machine climbed the ridge. 1 enemy artillery unit turned toward him. Izuku saw the cannon rotate. Too slow. The cannon fired. Bang. Izuku ducked. The projectile passed over Emerald. He accelerated. The enemy attempted another shot. Izuku was already inside its firing range. He struck the cannon. Crash. The barrel bent. The pilot tried to retreat. Izuku grabbed the machine. "You're done." He threw it sideways. Boom. The second artillery unit fired. Izuku turned. The projectile passed directly beside Emerald. He rushed forward. The enemy pilot panicked. Izuku raised the pile bunker. The weapon drove forward. Boom. The spike penetrated the machine's armor. Izuku stopped. He had a clear shot at the cockpit. He hesitated. Then he pulled the weapon away. Instead, he struck the machine's legs. The mobile worker collapsed. Izuku opened the radio. "Artillery disabled." Orga answered. "Good work." Then another transmission interrupted. "Midoriya." It was one of the younger Tekkadan members. His voice was panicked. "They're attacking the fuel depot." Izuku's eyes widened. "How many?" "3. I'm coming." Emerald turned. The machine raced back toward the base. Izuku pushed the controls harder. The Alaya-Vijnana connection intensified. His vision sharpened. His hands moved faster. Emerald accelerated. Then, crack. Pain shot through his back. Izuku gasped. The machine stumbled. Damn it. His vision blurred. The neural feedback was becoming too strong. He gripped the controls. Not now. Another pulse. His muscles tightened. The mobile worker nearly fell. Izuku forced himself to breathe. Move. Emerald stood again. Move. The machine accelerated. The fuel depot was under attack. 3 enemy units had broken through the outer defenses. Tekkadan members were retreating. "Fall back," someone shouted. A mobile worker fired at the enemy. The shot missed. One of the attackers charged. Then a green machine crashed into it from the side. Boom. Emerald pushed the enemy across the ground. Izuku drove forward. "Get away from the depot." The enemy pilot tried to recover. Izuku struck its weapon. Then its leg. The machine collapsed. Another enemy attacked from behind. Izuku turned. Emerald raised its arm. Clang. The impact shook the cockpit. Izuku gritted his teeth. His back burned. Again. The enemy attacked. Izuku blocked. Another strike. Block. Another. Block. He studied the movement. 3 attacks. Same pattern. Izuku waited. The 4th strike came. He stepped aside. The enemy lost balance. Izuku grabbed its arm. He twisted. The weapon fell. Then Emerald's pile bunker slammed into the machine's torso. Boom. The enemy collapsed. The final mobile worker stopped. Its pilot stared at Emerald. Izuku raised his weapon. The pilot immediately dropped his rifle. Izuku lowered his arm. Good choice. The enemy unit backed away. Leave. The pilot hesitated, then retreated. Silence slowly returned. The battlefield was covered in smoke. Several enemy mobile workers lay disabled across the red soil. Not destroyed. Disabled. Orga arrived in a command vehicle. He climbed out. How many casualties? A Tekkadan member approached him. 3 wounded. Orga nodded. Any dead? No. Orga exhaled. Good. Then he looked toward Emerald. The mobile worker stood completely still. Midoriya. No response. Orga frowned. Midoriya. The cockpit opened. Izuku fell forward. Mikazuki caught him. Hey. Izuku blinked. I'm fine. Mikazuki looked at him. You're bleeding. Izuku touched his nose. His fingers came away red. Oh. Orga rushed over. What happened? The Alaya-Vijnana. Izuku tried to stand. Mikazuki held him steady. Too much feedback. Orga's expression hardened. We told you not to push it. Izuku looked toward Emerald. We needed it. That's not an answer. Izuku didn't respond. Orga crouched in front of him. If you destroy your body, you can't protect anyone. Izuku looked down. I know. Then act like you know. Izuku nodded. Yes. Mikazuki looked at Emerald. The machine worked. Izuku smiled faintly. Yeah. Mikazuki pointed at the pile bunker. I like that. Izuku laughed. Thanks. That evening, the survivors gathered inside the main hangar. The damaged mobile workers were lined up for repairs. Emerald stood at the center. Several children stared at it. One of them approached Izuku. Can I see the cockpit? Izuku smiled. Sure. The boy climbed the ladder. His eyes widened. There's barely any space. It's a mobile worker. But you fight in this? Yes. The boy looked at the controls. What does this do? Izuku explained. Another child joined them. Soon, several children gathered around Emerald. Izuku patiently explained how the hydraulic systems worked, how the targeting system operated, how to maintain the armor, how to recognize damage before it became dangerous. Mikazuki watched from a distance. Orga stood beside him. He's going to turn that thing into a school. Mikazuki nodded. Probably. Orga smiled. Good. Later that night, Izuku sat alone inside Emerald's cockpit. The hangar lights were dim. He looked at the Alaya-Vijnana interface. The system had already recorded the damage from the battle. Nerve strain, muscle fatigue, feedback spikes. Izuku frowned. That's bad. He opened the system settings. He began designing a limiter. A device that would reduce neural feedback before it could damage his body. He worked for hours. Then he noticed something. The limiter could also increase synchronization efficiency. Izuku's eyes widened. If I can make this. He began writing faster. A better connection. Less feedback. Faster reaction. Greater control. He leaned back. For the first time, he imagined what Emerald could become. Not just a repaired mobile worker. Not just a weapon. A machine capable of fighting beside Barbados. A machine that could keep up. A machine that could protect the others. Izuku smiled. I'll make you better. Outside the cockpit, the flag of Tekkadan moved in the night wind. The red symbol stood against the dark Mars sky. And beneath it, Izuku Midoriya began designing the machine that would eventually earn a reputation among both allies and enemies. The Green Devil. The morning after the battle was unusually busy. Tekkadan had barely finished repairing the damaged mobile workers when new orders arrived. Izuku was inside the maintenance hangar, tightening a connection beneath Emerald's cockpit, when Orga walked in. Midoriya. Izuku looked up. Yes. We have a job. Izuku slid out from underneath the machine. What kind? Escort. Izuku stood. Who? Orga handed him a tablet. A profile appeared on the screen. A young woman with long brown hair. Izuku read the information. Kudelia Aina Bernstein. That's right. Politician. Activist. Izuku scrolled through the data. From Chris. She's going to Earth. Izuku stopped. Earth. Orga nodded. She wants to present a proposal to the Parliament regarding the independence and economic rights of Mars. Izuku looked at the route. That's dangerous. Very. Mikazuki entered the hangar. When do we leave? Soon. Mikazuki looked at the tablet. Kudelia. Izuku looked at him. You know her? No. Mikazuki walked toward Barbados. Just heard about her. Orga turned toward Izuku. You're coming. Izuku blinked. Me? Yes. Why? Because you're good at analyzing situations. Orga pointed at the map. And because I want someone who can keep an eye on the passengers while we're fighting. Izuku nodded. Understood. Orga turned away. One more thing. Izuku looked at him. You're going to meet her personally. Why? Because you're going to be her escort when she's outside the ship. Izuku stared. Me. Orga smiled. Try not to scare her. The transport ship arrived at the base several hours later. It was larger than most of Tekkadan's vehicles. Several crates were loaded into the cargo bay while the children prepared weapons and supplies. Izuku stood near the entrance. He checked his tablet again. Kudelia Aina Bernstein. A noblewoman. Activist. Political target. Potentially one of the most important passengers Tekkadan had ever carried. Izuku looked toward the docking entrance. A group of adults entered first. Then she appeared. Kudelia wore a white outfit with a dark jacket over it. She looked around the hangar. Her expression changed when she saw the children working everywhere. She hadn't expected this. Izuku noticed immediately. She wasn't looking at the mobile workers. She was looking at the people. Orga walked toward her. Miss Bernstein. Kudelia turned. Yes, I'm Orga Itsuka. He introduced himself. I'll be leading the escort. Kudelia nodded politely. Thank you. Orga gestured toward Izuku. This is Izuku Midoriya. Izuku stepped forward. Hello. Kudelia looked at him. She seemed surprised. You're very young. Izuku smiled awkwardly. So are most of us. Kudelia's expression became uncomfortable. She looked around again. Yes. Izuku noticed the change. He didn't say anything. Kudelia looked at him again. Are you a soldier? Pilot. Of one of those? She pointed toward Emerald. Izuku nodded. Yes. You built it. Modified it. Yourself. With help. Kudelia studied the machine. It looks old. Izuku laughed quietly. It is. Does it work? Usually. Kudelia smiled. Usually. Izuku nodded. That's the honest answer. The preparations continued. Kudelia was given a small room aboard the transport ship. Izuku personally checked the security around it. He placed 2 guards near the corridor. Another 2 near the cargo bay. Then he checked the escape routes. Kudelia watched him from the doorway. You're very thorough. Izuku turned. I have to be. Why? Because if something happens, we'll need an exit. Kudelia looked down the corridor. Do you expect something to happen? Yes. She looked surprised. That's not very reassuring. Izuku scratched his cheek. Sorry. Kudelia laughed softly. It's all right. She walked closer. How old are you? 14. Her smile disappeared. 14. Izuku nodded. Kudelia stared at him. You're a soldier at 14. Izuku looked away. I didn't really have another option. Kudelia didn't know what to say. Izuku noticed. It's normal here. That doesn't make it right. Izuku looked at her. She spoke quietly. Children shouldn't have to fight. Izuku remained silent. Those words stayed in his mind. The ship departed Mars shortly after sunset. The massive engines activated. The entire vessel shook. Izuku was inside Emerald's cockpit. The mobile worker was secured inside the hangar. Mikazuki sat inside Barbados. Orga stood in the command room. All systems ready. A crew member answered. Navigation locked. Communications clear. Orga nodded. Launch. The ship left the base. Mars slowly disappeared behind them. Izuku looked through Emerald's external camera. The red planet became smaller. He had lived there his entire life. He had never imagined leaving. Beautiful. His voice was barely audible. A transmission came through. Midoriya. Yes. You okay? It was Orga. Izuku smiled. Yeah, good. The communication ended. 2 days into the journey, Izuku noticed something wrong. He was reviewing the ship's navigation data when a small anomaly appeared. He frowned. That's strange. He enlarged the map. One of the nearby routes showed unusual signal interference. He checked the surrounding area. Nothing. He checked again. Still nothing. Izuku leaned closer. Someone's hiding. He immediately contacted Orga. Orga. What? Change our route. Why? We're being watched. Silence. Are you sure? Not completely. Izuku pointed at the data. But this interference isn't natural. Orga appeared on the monitor. Could be debris. No. Izuku shook his head. The interference is moving. Orga's expression changed. How close? Not close yet. I'll alert everyone. The ship changed course. For 30 minutes, nothing happened. Then the radar detected multiple objects. Izuku stared at the display. There. 3. Then 5. Then 8. Enemy units. Orga's voice came through. All pilots to launch positions. Izuku closed his eyes. The Alaya-Vijnana system activated. Emerald came alive, his vision filled with tactical information. Mikazuki's voice came through. Barbados ready. Izuku answered. Emerald ready. Orga gave the order. Launch. The hangar doors opened. Emerald was launched into space. Izuku immediately felt the difference. Without gravity, the mobile worker moved differently. His machine rotated. He adjusted the thrusters. Too much. He corrected. Emerald stabilized. Enemy units appeared in the distance. Mobile suits. Izuku analyzed their formation. They're not trying to destroy the ship. Mikazuki answered. What are they doing? Forcing us toward the asteroid field. Orga asked. Why? Izuku zoomed in. Because they have something waiting there. Mikazuki turned Barbados. Then let's go through them. Wait. Izuku looked at the enemy formation. They're baiting you. Mikazuki stopped. Izuku continued. There are only 5 units here. And too few. Izuku marked the asteroid field. There's another group hiding behind the larger asteroids. Orga immediately understood. How many? At least 6. Mikazuki laughed quietly. Good. Izuku frowned. That's not good. It is for me. Barbados accelerated. Izuku followed. The battle erupted. Enemy weapons flashed through the darkness. Bang. Bang. Izuku rotated Emerald. The first projectile passed beneath him. He fired his rifle. The shot struck an enemy's shoulder. The mobile suit spun. Izuku immediately changed direction. Another enemy appeared behind him. Danger. His instincts reacted before the radar. He rotated. Clang. The enemy's weapon struck Emerald's armor. Izuku pushed away. The enemy followed. Izuku activated the Alaya-Vijnana. His movements became smoother. He could feel the machine's momentum. He rotated the torso. Fired. Bang. The enemy's weapon was destroyed. Izuku kicked the mobile suit away. Then Barbados appeared. Mikazuki's Gundam smashed through 2 enemies. Crash. Izuku stared for half a second. He's enjoying this. He turned back. Another enemy approached. Izuku raised his weapon. Then a massive projectile passed between him and Barbados. Boom. Izuku's radar screamed. That's not a mobile suit. He looked toward the asteroid field. A large cannon emerged from behind an asteroid. They brought artillery. Orga answered. Can you disable it? Izuku looked at the distance. Yes. Do it. Emerald accelerated. The artillery unit fired again. Boom. Izuku twisted Emerald sideways. The projectile passed within meters. He accelerated toward the asteroid. Another enemy mobile suit blocked his path. Izuku didn't slow down. He activated the pile bunker. Boom. The enemy was knocked away. Izuku continued forward. The artillery unit began charging another shot. Come on. Emerald's engines screamed. Izuku could feel the strain through the Alaya-Vijnana. His back began hurting. He ignored it. The cannon fired. Izuku moved. The projectile passed behind him. He reached the artillery unit. Emerald grabbed the cannon. Izuku pulled. The weapon broke away. Crack. The enemy pilot tried to escape. Izuku struck the propulsion unit. The mobile suit stopped. Disabled. He opened the communication channel. Artillery is down. Orga answered. Good. Then another transmission came through. Midoriya. Kudelia. Izuku blinked. Miss Bernstein. Something is happening inside the ship. Izuku's expression changed. What? There are people in the cargo bay. Izuku immediately contacted Orga. Orga. I heard. Izuku looked toward the transport ship. They boarded during the attack. Orga's voice became cold. Get back. Izuku turned Emerald. On my way. Inside the transport ship, several armed men had infiltrated the cargo bay. Kudelia was surrounded. One man pointed a weapon at her. You're coming with us. Kudelia remained calm. Who sent you? The man laughed. You don't need to know. A door suddenly opened. A young boy stood there. Izuku. He had entered through an emergency access route. The man pointed his weapon. You. Izuku raised both hands. Let her go. The man laughed. You're a child. Izuku looked at the weapon. Then at the exits. 4 men. 2 weapons. 1 hostage. He calculated. Yes. He took a step forward. But I'm also the person who knows this ship better than you. The man frowned. Izuku pointed toward the ceiling. The ventilation system is connected to the emergency oxygen supply. He smiled. If I shut it down, you'll have 30 seconds before the automatic lockdown seals this entire section. The man hesitated. Izuku took another step. And you don't know which door leads outside. The man looked around. Izuku saw the uncertainty. Put the weapon down. The man raised it. Shut up. Izuku moved. He grabbed the man's wrist. Twisted. The weapon fell. Kudelia stepped aside. Another man attacked. Izuku ducked. The man's fist passed above him. Izuku struck his stomach. The man collapsed. The remaining 2 raised their weapons. Then, boom. The entire ship shook. Everyone lost balance. Izuku grabbed Kudelia. Stay down. Another explosion. The lights went out. Emergency lights activated. Izuku looked toward the attackers. They were disoriented. He moved quickly. 1 strike. Another. The last attacker tried to run. Izuku caught him. The man froze. Let me go. Izuku pushed him to the ground. Stay there. The battle outside ended several minutes later. The remaining enemy units retreated. Tekkadan had survived. Again, Izuku returned to the cockpit of Emerald. His breathing was heavy. His back hurt badly. The Alaya-Vijnana system displayed several warning messages. Neural feedback above recommended limits. Izuku stared at the screen. Not good. Orga contacted him. Midoriya. Yes. You saved Kudelia. Izuku smiled. She saved herself too. Orga laughed. You're terrible at taking compliments. Probably. Later. Kudelia stood in the observation room. Mars was no longer visible. Only the darkness of space surrounded the ship. Izuku entered. She looked at him. You're back. Izuku stopped. What? You're injured. It's nothing. You're bleeding. Izuku touched his neck. There was a small streak of blood. Oh. Kudelia sighed. You always say that. Izuku looked at her. You've known me for 2 days. And you've said it 6 times. Izuku laughed. Kudelia smiled. Then she looked toward the stars. Izuku. Yes. Why do you fight? He remained silent for a moment. Then answered honestly. Because I don't want other kids to become what we were. Kudelia turned toward him. Izuku continued. Human debris. His hands tightened. I don't want anyone growing up believing they're worthless because someone stronger decided they are. Kudelia stared at him. Then she smiled softly. Then perhaps we're fighting for the same thing. Izuku looked at her. Maybe. Outside the observation window, the stars stretched endlessly across space. The journey to Earth had only begun. And neither Izuku nor Kudelia knew how many battles waited ahead. But for the first time, Izuku wasn't simply fighting to survive. He was protecting someone whose goal was to change Mars itself. And somewhere in the hangar, Emerald rested beside Barbados, its green armor reflecting the cold lights of the ship. The 2 machines would soon become the spearhead of Tekkadan's journey toward Earth. The journey toward Earth had been relatively quiet. That changed when the transport ship entered the asteroid belt. Izuku was inside Emerald's cockpit, monitoring the surrounding space through the mobile worker's sensors. The modified machine was old, but the systems he had installed made it considerably more responsive than a normal mobile worker. He checked the radar again. Nothing. Then the screen flickered. Izuku frowned. That's strange. A faint signal had appeared near the edge of the asteroid field. Then another. Then another. His fingers moved rapidly across the controls. Orga. What is it? We have company. Orga's voice became serious. How many? I don't know yet. They're masking their signals behind the asteroids. Izuku enlarged the tactical display. Several large rocks were moving through space. But their movement wasn't natural. There are at least 8 mobile suits. A pause. Gjallarhorn. No. Izuku studied the signals. Their Ahab reactors are different. Probably a private military group. Orga immediately gave the order. All pilots, prepare for combat. Izuku activated Emerald's Alaya-Vijnana system. The familiar sensation spread through his spine. The cockpit disappeared from his immediate awareness. For a moment, it felt as though his body had expanded into the machine. He could sense every movement, every vibration, every change in momentum. Emerald ready. The enemy attacked first. Multiple missiles emerged from behind the asteroids. Missiles. Izuku pushed the controls. Emerald suddenly accelerated. The first missile passed beside him. Boom. Another exploded behind the mobile worker. The shockwave pushed Emerald sideways. Izuku corrected the trajectory. Too close. Another group of missiles approached. He calculated their trajectories. 3 from the left, 2 from above, 1 directly behind. Izuku immediately changed direction. Emerald spun between the asteroids. The missiles followed. Come on. He increased speed. The pursuing missiles slammed into a large asteroid. Boom. Debris scattered through space. Izuku smiled. Got them. Then a mobile suit appeared directly ahead. It swung a weapon toward Emerald. Izuku pulled the controls. Emerald barely avoided the strike. The enemy mobile suit followed. Izuku fired his rifle. The shot struck its shoulder. The enemy staggered. Emerald rushed forward and slammed its armored body into the opponent. Clang. The enemy spun away. Izuku didn't pursue. His attention shifted toward the main battlefield. Barbados was already fighting. Mikazuki moved through the asteroid field with terrifying precision. His Gundam crushed one enemy unit against an asteroid. Boom. Izuku watched for a moment. Mika, another enemy, approached him. Izuku immediately raised his rifle. Bang. The enemy's weapon was destroyed. Emerald kicked the mobile suit away. Midoriya. Orga's voice came through. What? The main ship is being targeted. Izuku looked toward the transport. 3 enemy units were approaching from below. All intercept. He accelerated. 1 enemy fired. Izuku moved sideways. Another fired. He dropped below the projectile. Then he noticed something. The enemy formation wasn't random. They were driving him away from the ship. Izuku's eyes widened. Wait. He checked the radar. More signals appeared behind the transport. Orga. There's another group. Where? Above the ship. Orga immediately understood. They're trying to surround us. Yes. Izuku quickly marked several positions on the tactical display. If we keep fighting here, they'll cut off our retreat. What do you suggest? Izuku looked at the asteroid field. We use it. Orga transmitted the order. The Tekkadan units began retreating toward the denser part of the asteroid belt. The enemy followed. Izuku stayed at the rear. Emerald moved between the rocks. His eyes constantly shifted between the radar and the visual display. He was searching. There. A narrow passage. 2 enormous asteroids almost touched each other. Izuku smiled. Perfect. He accelerated through the gap. The enemy followed without hesitation. Izuku suddenly stopped. The enemy mobile suit couldn't react quickly enough. Emerald rotated and fired at the asteroid beside it. Bang. The projectile struck the surface. Chunks of rock broke loose. The asteroid's debris field slammed into the enemy unit. Crash. The mobile suit lost control. Izuku immediately accelerated away. 1. Another enemy entered the passage. Izuku repeated the maneuver. Bang. More debris. Crash. 2. Mikazuki's voice came through. You're having fun. Izuku laughed. I'm trying not to die. Same thing. That's not the same thing. Mikazuki didn't answer. Izuku could already hear the sound of Barbados moving closer. The enemy pilots were beginning to panic. Their formation had collapsed. The remaining attackers attempted to retreat. Orga ordered everyone to stop them. Emerald pursued one of the fleeing mobile suits. Izuku fired at its thrusters. Bang! The enemy slowed. He moved alongside it. "Stop your engine." The enemy pilot answered with another shot. Izuku dodged. Fine. Emerald slammed into the mobile suit. The enemy spun helplessly. Izuku aimed his rifle at the cockpit. He hesitated. Then he fired at the arm instead. Bang! The weapon flew away. "You've lost your weapon. Surrender." The enemy pilot remained silent. Izuku opened the communication channel again. "I don't want to kill you." The pilot finally answered. "You're a child." Izuku stared at the cockpit display. "So are you." Silence. The enemy stopped moving. Izuku lowered his weapon. "Stay there." The battle ended several minutes later. The surviving enemy units retreated. The transport ship continued toward Earth. Inside the hangar, Izuku climbed out of Emerald. His legs almost gave way. He grabbed the side of the machine. Whoa! His back was burning. The Alaya-Vijnana warning screen had recorded excessive neural feedback. He closed the interface. Kudelia was waiting nearby. "Are you hurt?" Izuku straightened. "Just tired." She looked at him suspiciously. "You always say that." Izuku smiled awkwardly. "Because it's usually true." Kudelia glanced toward Emerald. "You protected the ship." Izuku looked at the mobile worker. "Everyone did." She shook her head. "You noticed the ambush before anyone else." Izuku scratched his cheek. "I just noticed something strange." Kudelia smiled. "That's what makes you dangerous." Izuku blinked. "Dangerous? To anyone who underestimates you." He didn't know how to respond. Before he could say anything, Mikazuki walked past them. "Orga wants everyone in the briefing room." Izuku nodded. "Coming." Mikazuki stopped for a moment. "Good fight." Izuku smiled. "You too." Mikazuki continued walking. Kudelia looked at Izuku. "Does he ever say more than that?" Izuku laughed. "Not very often." The two followed him toward the briefing room. Earth was still far away. But with every battle, Tekkadan was getting closer. And somewhere ahead, the real enemies were already waiting. The asteroid belt disappeared behind them. For the first time in several days, Tekkadan's ship was moving through relatively open space. Izuku sat in the command room with Orga, reviewing the battle data from their previous encounter. Several screens displayed damaged mobile suits, ammunition consumption, fuel usage, and the condition of the transport ship. Izuku frowned. "We're using too much fuel." Orga looked at him. "Because of the battle?" "Partly." Izuku pointed toward the screen. "Our engines are carrying more weight than they're designed for. If we keep fighting like that, we'll have trouble reaching Earth." Orga leaned closer. "How much trouble?" "Enough that we might have to stop somewhere." Orga sighed. "We don't have much choice." "Actually." Izuku switched to another screen. "We might." A map appeared. A large vessel was marked several kilometers ahead. "Someone is already there." Orga narrowed his eyes. "Who?" "I don't know." Before he could continue, the communication system activated. "Unknown vessel approaching." Orga stood. "Identify them." The operator shook his head. No response. Izuku studied the radar. "Wait." He zoomed in. The vessel's silhouette appeared. Large. Heavily armed. And unlike the enemy ships they had encountered before, it wasn't attacking. Izuku recognized the design from the intelligence files. "Orga." "What?" "That's the hammerhead." Orga's expression changed. "Teiwaz." The hammerhead approached without firing. Tekkadan's crew remained ready. Mobile suits stood by inside the hangar. Barbados was prepared. Emerald was also ready. Izuku sat inside the cockpit, waiting. A transmission finally arrived. "Tekkadan." A deep voice filled the cockpit. "You've entered Teiwaz territory." Orga answered. We're aware. Then you should also be aware that trespassers usually don't leave. Izuku looked toward Orga. Orga remained calm. We aren't looking for trouble. The voice laughed. Everyone says that. The communication ended. Izuku sighed. That went well. Mikazuki's voice came through from Barbados. Do we fight? Not yet, Orga answered. Izuku smiled. Good. A docking request arrived shortly afterward. Orga accepted. The hammerhead opened its docking bay. Tekkadan's ship slowly entered. Izuku remained in Emerald until the docking procedure was complete. Then he climbed out. Orga gathered several members of Tekkadan. Kudelia came with them. They were escorted into the hammerhead. The interior was unlike anything Izuku had seen before. Larger, cleaner, better maintained. The equipment alone was worth more than most of the machinery at Tekkadan's old base. Izuku couldn't stop looking around. This place is incredible. Orga glanced at him. Don't stare. I'm analyzing. That's worse. Kudelia smiled. They eventually entered a large room. An older man sat at the center. He looked relaxed, but everyone around him was alert. The man smiled. Welcome. Orga stepped forward. McGillis Bernstein. The man laughed. Not quite. But I'll take it. Izuku immediately recognized him. McMurdo Bernstein, the leader of Teiwaz. McMurdo looked toward the children. So this is Tekkadan. Orga nodded. Yes. McMurdo looked at Izuku. And who's the green-haired one? Izuku blinked. Izuku Midoriya. Pilot. And mechanic. Strategist. Izuku hesitated. That too. McMurdo smiled. You do a lot. Izuku looked at the floor. I try. McMurdo brought up the data from the asteroid battle. You survived that ambush. Orga nodded. Barely. Your ship is damaged. Yes. McMurdo looked at Izuku. You predicted the enemy formation. Izuku nodded. Their positioning gave them away. How? Izuku walked toward the display. Their first group wasn't trying to destroy us. They were forcing us toward the asteroid field. He pointed at the map. The second group was waiting here. McMurdo watched silently. Izuku continued. If they had coordinated properly, we'd have been trapped. McMurdo smiled. But they didn't. No. Why? Izuku shrugged. They weren't trained well enough. One of the Teiwaz men laughed. This kid is insulting our enemies. Izuku looked confused. I'm just stating the data. McMurdo laughed. I like him. Orga sighed. Don't encourage him. The meeting continued. Tekkadan needed fuel, spare parts, food, and a safer route toward Earth. Teiwaz could provide all of them. But nothing came free. McMurdo wanted something in return. Work with us. Orga remained silent. McMurdo explained the arrangement. Tekkadan would operate under Teiwaz's protection. In exchange, they would accept certain contracts and follow Teiwaz's rules. Izuku listened carefully, then raised his hand. Everyone looked at him. Orga frowned. What? Can I ask something? McMurdo smiled. Of course. Izuku pointed at the supply data. Your logistics system has a weakness. The room became silent. Orga covered his face. Midoriya. Izuku continued anyway. Your fuel shipments travel too far between the outer colonies. If you establish a smaller storage station here, you could reduce transportation costs. McMurdo stared at him. Izuku quickly added another point. And if you standardize your mobile suit ammunition, maintenance crews won't need to carry as many spare components. McMurdo leaned back. How much would that save? Izuku calculated. Approximately 12 to 16%. A Teiwaz officer looked at the data. He's right. Another checked. He really is. McMurdo laughed. Orga. Yes. Where did you find this kid? Orga sighed. Mars. Keep him. Izuku blinked. What? McMurdo smiled. He's useful. Later that evening, Izuku stood inside the Hammerhead's maintenance bay. He had been given access to their mobile suit systems. He examined a damaged component. This is worn. A Teiwaz mechanic looked over. We know. Then why don't you replace it? Because we don't have the part. Izuku examined it again. You don't need the original. He picked up a nearby component. This one can work. The mechanic stared. That's from a mobile worker. The connection is compatible. Izuku modified the piece. After several minutes, he handed it back. The mechanic installed it. The system activated. The mechanic stared. It works. Izuku smiled. Told you. Mikazuki entered the hangar. Izuku. What? Orga wants you. Izuku put down his tools. Coming. Mikazuki looked at the repaired component. You fixed that? Yeah. Good. Mikazuki walked away. Izuku followed. Mika. What? Do you think Teiwaz can be trusted? Mikazuki thought for a moment. Probably. That's not very convincing. McMurdo seems nice. Izuku laughed. That's your standard. Yes. Izuku shook his head. They continued toward the meeting room. Behind them, the Hammerhead's machinery continued to hum. For the first time since leaving Mars, Tekkadan had found something they desperately needed. An ally. But Izuku knew alliances could be just as dangerous as enemies. Especially when money, politics, and war were involved. And Teiwaz was involved in all three. The Hammerhead had been traveling with Tekkadan for several days. The arrangement with Teiwaz had gone better than Orga expected. Their supplies had been replenished, damaged equipment repaired, and the route toward Earth had become considerably safer. But Izuku remained cautious. He sat in Emerald's cockpit, studying the latest navigation data. We're approaching the next transit route. Orga's voice came through the communication system. Anything unusual? Nothing yet. Izuku checked the surrounding signals. But we should stay alert. Why? This area has too many abandoned cargo routes. Orga understood immediately. Pirates. Possibly. Before they could continue, the radar suddenly detected multiple vessels. Izuku's eyes widened. Contact. The alarm sounded throughout the ship. Multiple ships approaching. Orga immediately ordered everyone to their stations. All pilots, launch. Inside the hangar, Emerald and Barbados were prepared. Izuku connected himself to the Alaya-Vijnana system. The familiar sensation spread through his spine. Emerald's systems came alive. Emerald ready. Mikazuki answered. Barbados ready. The hangar doors opened. Both machines launched into space. The enemy appeared from behind the cargo containers. Mobile suits. Dozens of them. Izuku stared at the display. That's a lot. Orga answered. Can you identify them? Izuku scanned their reactors. Pirates. He zoomed in. Wait. Several of the enemy mobile suits were unusually small. Their armor was damaged. Some were barely maintained. Izuku looked at their silhouettes. They're using children. Orga went silent. What? The pilots. Izuku analyzed the movements. Most of them are too young. Mikazuki's voice remained calm. So, Izuku clenched his hand. So we can't fight them the same way. Mikazuki didn't answer. The enemy opened fire. Boom. Emerald accelerated. Izuku avoided the first volley. Another group approached from the right. He fired at their weapons instead of their cockpits. Bang. One enemy mobile suit lost its rifle. Another attempted to charge. Izuku blocked its weapon. Clang. The enemy pilot pushed harder. Izuku noticed the movement was sloppy. The pilot was inexperienced. Stop. The enemy didn't respond. Izuku pushed Emerald backward. I don't want to hurt you. The enemy swung again. Emerald caught the arm. Izuku disabled the joint. The enemy mobile suit drifted helplessly. Izuku opened the communication channel. Your machine is disabled. Don't move. A small voice answered. Shut up. Izuku froze. It was a child. The same age as him. Perhaps younger. Then another enemy attacked from behind. Danger. Izuku twisted Emerald aside. The weapon passed over his shoulder. He kicked the attacker away. Everyone, stop targeting the cockpits. Orga answered. Understood. Mikazuki didn't. Barbados accelerated toward the enemy formation. Izuku immediately called him. Mika, I know. Barbados struck an enemy mobile suit. The machine crashed into a cargo container. Izuku saw the pilot eject. Alive. He sighed in relief. The battle became chaotic. Tekkadan was trying to disable the enemy machines. The pirates were trying to destroy them. Izuku moved between them, firing carefully. Then he noticed something. The enemy wasn't controlling the children. They were threatening them. Izuku intercepted a transmission. Keep fighting. If you retreat, we'll kill you. Izuku's expression hardened. They're forcing them. Orga heard him. Are you sure? Yes. Izuku transmitted the information to the entire Tekkadan force. Don't kill them. He looked at the enemy command ship. Take out whoever is giving those orders. Orga immediately understood. All units, change targets. Emerald accelerated toward the command ship. 2 mobile suits intercepted him. Izuku dodged between them. One fired. Emerald rotated. Bang. The shot missed. Izuku struck the enemy's arm. The weapon fell away. He immediately moved toward the second. But the mobile suit suddenly stopped. The pilot had surrendered. Izuku blinked. Good choice. He continued. The command ship launched several missiles. Izuku activated Emerald's defensive system. Boom. The missiles exploded around him. The shockwave pushed Emerald backward. Izuku gritted his teeth. His spine burned. The Alaya-Vijnana was receiving too much feedback. Not now. He forced the machine forward. Emerald reached the command ship. Izuku raised his weapon. Give up. The pirate leader laughed. You're just another child. Izuku stared at him. Maybe. Emerald grabbed the ship's external weapon system. But I'm not going to let you use children as shields. He tore the weapon away. Crack. The command ship's defenses collapsed. Orga transmitted an order. They're surrendering. Izuku lowered his weapon. The remaining pirate machines stopped fighting. One by one, their pilots were forced to eject. When the battle ended, the silence felt strange. Inside the hangar, several rescued children were being treated by Tekkadan's medical team. Izuku stood nearby. One of the boys looked at him. Why didn't you kill me? Izuku crouched down. Because you didn't want to fight. The boy looked away. We don't have anywhere to go. Izuku was silent. He looked toward Orga. Orga was already speaking with the others. The children were human debris. Just like many members of Tekkadan had once been. Izuku understood immediately. Then you can come with us. The boy looked up. Really? Izuku smiled. You won't have to fight if you don't want to. Mikazuki walked past them. That's up to Orga. Izuku nodded. Right. The boy looked toward the adults. For the first time, his expression wasn't frightened. Later that night, Izuku stood outside Emerald's cockpit. Kudelia approached. You look troubled. Izuku glanced at her. Those children. Yes. They were fighting because someone forced them. Kudelia nodded. Izuku looked at his hands. I know what it's like to be treated like you're disposable. He looked toward the rescued children. I don't want them to stay that way. Kudelia smiled faintly. Neither do I. Behind them, Orga called out. Midoriya. Izuku turned. Yes. We're taking the children with us. Izuku's eyes widened. Really? Orga nodded. They'll work with the support crews until we figure out something better. Izuku smiled. Thank you. Orga walked away. Kudelia watched him. You really care about them. Izuku looked toward the hangar. They're our responsibility now. The hammerhead continued toward Earth. But the encounter with the brewery had left Tekkadan with more than another victory. They had gained several new brothers and sisters. And Izuku knew that protecting them would become just as important as reaching Earth. The journey toward Earth continued. After the encounter with the brewery, Tekkadan had taken in several rescued children. The new arrivals were still adjusting to life aboard the ship, while the older members tried to find work for them that didn't involve combat. Izuku spent most of his time in the maintenance bay. Emerald was undergoing another inspection. He had already replaced several damaged components from the previous battle, but something still bothered him. The mobile worker was reaching its limits. The frame can't handle another major battle. Izuku examined the internal structure. The armor was old. The joints were reinforced. The reactor was functional. But the machine was still a mobile worker. He needed something stronger. You've been staring at that thing for hours. Izuku turned. Mika was standing behind him. I'm thinking. About Emerald. Yeah. Mika looked at the machine. It's too weak. Izuku sighed. Exactly. Get a stronger one. If only it were that easy. Mika walked away. Ask McMurdo. Izuku blinked. That's actually a good idea. The next day, Izuku was called to a Teiwaz maintenance facility. McMurdo was waiting for him. You wanted a better machine. Izuku nodded. Emerald is reaching its limits. McMurdo smiled. I've heard. He gestured toward a massive hangar. The doors opened. Izuku's eyes widened. Inside stood an enormous mobile suit frame. It was old, heavily damaged, but the silhouette was unmistakable. A Gundam frame. Izuku slowly walked toward it. This. McMurdo folded his arms. It's been sitting here for years. Izuku approached the machine. Why? Too expensive to restore. Izuku looked at the damaged armor. What happened to it? Old battlefield. Izuku ran his fingers over the frame. The machine was enormous compared with Emerald. Its internal structure was unlike anything he had worked on before. It's a Gundam frame. McMurdo nodded. You know your machines. Barbados is one. Exactly. Izuku stared at the machine. Can I repair it? McMurdo laughed. That's what I wanted to hear. The restoration took days. Izuku worked alongside Teiwaz mechanics. Every damaged component was inspected. Some parts had to be replaced. Others were rebuilt. Izuku modified the cockpit. He connected the interface directly to an Alaya-Vijnana compatible neural system. The mechanics watched nervously. Are you sure? Izuku nodded. Yes. That system can damage your nervous system. I know. He looked at the machine. But without it, I can't control something this large properly. The mechanic frowned. You're already using Alaya-Vijnana. Yes. Then you know what happens if it goes wrong. Izuku remained silent. His previous battle had already left his spine aching. He knew the risk, but he also knew that Tekkadan was going to face stronger enemies. Emerald wasn't enough anymore. Finally, the machine was ready. Izuku stood inside the cockpit. The hatch closed. Darkness surrounded him. He connected the Alaya-Vijnana. Click. The system activated. His body suddenly went rigid. Information flooded his mind. Weight, temperature, movement, power output, armor condition. He could feel the entire machine. Izuku gasped. Too much. Warning messages appeared. Neural synchronization rising. He clenched his teeth. Come on. The system stabilized. His vision returned. The machine moved. One step. Then another. The ground shook. Boom. Izuku looked at his hands. It's responding. The mechanics watched from the control room. One of them whispered. He's controlling it like it's his own body. Izuku smiled. Then the Gundam suddenly moved faster. He turned. The massive machine raised its weapon. The movement was smooth. Too smooth. Izuku immediately realized something. The Alaya-Vijnana is amplifying everything. He stopped the machine. His heart was pounding. This isn't like Emerald. Mika's voice came through. What's it like? Izuku looked at the machine. Like having another body. The machine was officially assigned to him. Izuku had already chosen a name. Emerald. Orga stared at him. You're naming another machine Emerald. Izuku scratched his cheek. It's the upgraded version. Orga sighed. Fine. Mika looked at the new Gundam. It looks strong. It is. Stronger than Barbados? Izuku looked at him. Probably not. Mika smiled. Good. Izuku laughed. The first test came unexpectedly. A group of raiders attacked the facility. Izuku was still inside the Gundam when the alarm sounded. Enemy approaching. Orga contacted him. Midoriya. Launch. Izuku activated the system. Understood. The hangar doors opened. The Gundam launched into space. The moment it entered combat range, Izuku felt the difference. The machine accelerated. Faster than Emerald. Far more powerful. An enemy mobile suit fired. Izuku raised his weapon. Bang. The shot destroyed the incoming projectile. Another enemy approached. Izuku moved forward. The Gundam's weapon struck the enemy's armor. Clang. The mobile suit was thrown backward. Izuku followed. Another strike. Boom. The enemy was disabled. Izuku stared. This power. He immediately pulled back. He didn't want to destroy the cockpit. Another enemy fired from behind. Danger. Izuku turned instantly. He blocked the attack, then countered. Boom. The enemy fell. Mikazuki appeared beside him. Barbados swung its weapon. Another enemy disappeared in a cloud of debris. Izuku laughed. We make a good team. Yeah. The battle ended quickly. The attackers retreated. Izuku returned to the hangar. As soon as the cockpit opened, his legs trembled. He grabbed the edge. His back was burning. The Alaya-Vijnana system displayed several warnings. Excessive neural feedback. Izuku closed his eyes. Again. He looked at his new Gundam. It's getting worse. A voice came from behind. You should stop. Izuku turned. It was Kudelia. She looked worried. You could seriously hurt yourself. Izuku smiled. I know. Then why continue? Izuku looked at the Gundam. Because everyone else is getting stronger too. He looked toward the hangar entrance. Mikazuki was standing there. Barbados behind him. I need to keep up. Kudelia sighed. You don't have to prove anything. Izuku shook his head. I'm not trying to prove anything. He looked at the rescued children passing through the corridor. I just want to make sure they get to Earth alive. Kudelia said nothing. Izuku turned back toward his new mobile suit. The machine stood silently beneath the hangar lights. Its green armor reflected against the metal floor. And for the first time, Tekkadan had another Gundam frame fighting alongside Barbados. But Izuku didn't yet understand the price the Alaya-Vijnana would demand from him. Earth was finally within reach. After weeks of traveling through space, the blue planet appeared on the main display of Tekkadan's ship. Several of the younger members gathered near the observation windows. That's Earth. One of them whispered. Izuku stood behind them. Yeah. The children stared at the planet. Some had never seen it before. Kudelia was among them. She watched silently. Izuku smiled. We're almost there. Then the alarm sounded. Beep. 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 Everyone turned. Multiple mobile suits detected. Orga immediately entered the command room. Gjallarhorn. The operator checked the readings. Confirmed. Izuku's expression hardened. How many? 20 no. 30. Orga stared at the display. They're blocking the descent route. Izuku quickly studied their formation. They're not trying to destroy us. Orga looked at him. What? They're forcing us into a specific trajectory. Izuku marked the screen. If we follow this route, we'll enter the atmosphere here. He pointed toward a narrow section. They want us to descend through this corridor. Orga frowned. Why? Izuku zoomed in. Because their main force is waiting below. Silence filled the room. They're setting up a pincer attack. Orga clenched his fist. Then we break through. The hangar doors opened. Izuku climbed into Emerald. The Alaya-Vijnana system activated. Click. His body stiffened. The Gundam responded immediately. Emerald ready. Mikazuki's voice followed. Barbados ready. Orga transmitted the order. Protect the ship. Don't let them reach the engines. Understood. Emerald launched. Space erupted into battle. Gjallarhorn mobile suits surrounded the transport ship. Missiles flew in every direction. Boom. Emerald accelerated through the formation. Izuku fired at one enemy's weapon. Bang. The mobile suit spun away. Another appeared from above. Izuku twisted Emerald's body. The enemy's blade missed by centimeters. Emerald countered with a strike to the enemy's shoulder. Crack. The mobile suit lost its arm. One disabled. Mikazuki suddenly passed him. Barbados slammed into another enemy. Boom. Mika. What? You're going too far ahead. I'll be fine. Izuku sighed. Of course you will. Another enemy appeared behind Barbados. Izuku immediately fired. Bang. The enemy was forced back. Mikazuki turned. Thanks. You're welcome. The enemy formation changed. Izuku noticed immediately. They're moving. Orga answered. Toward us. No. Izuku looked at the display. They're moving toward the ship. The transport was surrounded. They're going to board us. Orga's expression hardened. All security teams, prepare for boarding. Izuku looked at the approaching mobile suits. I'll stop them. Emerald accelerated. 3 enemy mobile suits reached the ship. Emerald intercepted them. The first fired. Izuku dodged. The second attacked. He blocked. The third tried to pass. Izuku grabbed it. Not happening. Emerald threw the enemy into the path of its own allies. Boom. 2 mobile suits collided. The third attempted to retreat. Izuku followed. His machine moved faster than expected. The Alaya-Vijnana responded perfectly. Too perfectly. Izuku's vision blurred for a moment. Warning. Neural feedback increasing. He gritted his teeth. Not now. The enemy mobile suit fired. Izuku dodged automatically. Emerald struck. Boom. The enemy stopped moving. Izuku breathed heavily. His back was burning. But he couldn't stop. The ship was entering the atmosphere. Re-entry in 30 seconds. The announcement echoed throughout the ship. Orga shouted. All units, return. Izuku looked at the enemy formation. They were still coming. Mika. Yeah, we need to clear the path. I know. Barbados accelerated. Emerald followed. The 2 Gundams charged directly toward the remaining Gjallarhorn units. Izuku opened fire. Bang. Bang. Mikazuki swung his weapon. Crash. The enemy formation broke apart. Now, Orga ordered. The ship entered the atmosphere. Fire surrounded the transport. The hull shook violently. Izuku's cockpit filled with warnings. Temperature rising. External armor heating. Albeit the Gundam was protected by its armor, the descent was still brutal. Emerald shook. Izuku tightened his grip. Hold together. Another enemy appeared above him. It had followed them into the atmosphere. Izuku stared. You're kidding. The enemy fired. The projectile passed through the flames. Izuku moved Emerald sideways. The attack missed. He accelerated. Emerald collided with the enemy. Both machines tumbled. Izuku fought to regain control. Come on. The Alaya-Vijnana connected him directly to the machine. He could feel every vibration. Every shift in weight. Every movement. Emerald stabilized. Izuku immediately kicked the enemy away. The mobile suit disappeared into the clouds. Goodbye. The transport ship broke through the clouds. Earth appeared beneath them. Green land. Blue water. Cities. Izuku stared through the cockpit display. He had seen images of Earth before. But seeing it with his own eyes was different. So that's Earth. Kudelia's voice came through the communication system. Beautiful, isn't it? Izuku smiled. Yeah. Then the radar beeped again. More enemy signals. Izuku's smile disappeared. We're not finished. Orga answered. How many? Izuku checked. Too many. The Gjallarhorn forces were waiting below. Izuku activated Emerald's thrusters. Then we'll make a path. Barbados moved beside him. Mikazuki's voice came through. Let's go. Izuku smiled. Together. The 2 Gundams descended toward Earth. Behind them, the transport ship followed. The journey from Mars was almost over. But the battle for Earth had just begun. Earth looked different from Mars. Izuku had spent most of his life surrounded by red soil, metal structures, and endless industrial facilities. Now, green fields stretched beneath the transport ship as Tekkadan approached Edmonton. Kudelia stood near the observation window, watching the city grow larger. "We made it." Izuku stood beside her. "Not yet." She looked at him. "You really don't relax, do you?" "I'll relax after the mission." Kudelia smiled. "Fair enough." Then the alarm sounded. Beep. 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 Izuku immediately turned toward the tactical display. Multiple mobile suits. Orga entered the command room. "Gjallarhorn." The operator nodded. "Confirmed." Izuku examined the formation. "They're not attacking the ship." Orga frowned. "What are they doing?" "Blocking the road." The map displayed several units surrounding the approach to Edmonton. Izuku zoomed in. "They're trying to prevent us from reaching the Parliament building." Orga looked at Kudelia. "Then that's where we'll go." The convoy moved through the city. Mobile workers advanced alongside the vehicles carrying Kudelia. Izuku piloted Emerald at the front. Barbados moved nearby. The streets were already filled with smoke. Gjallarhorn forces had established defensive positions throughout the city. "Midoriya." Orga's voice came through. "What do you see?" Izuku scanned the area. "Heavy units ahead. They're using the buildings as cover." "Can we get through?" "Yes." Izuku marked several locations. "But not directly." Orga waited. "There's an underground service route. Too narrow for the mobile suits." "Emerald can fit." Orga understood. "Take the side route." Izuku accelerated. Emerald disappeared between the buildings. A Gjallarhorn mobile suit appeared around the corner. Izuku reacted instantly. The enemy fired. Bang. Emerald moved aside. Izuku returned fire. Bang. The enemy's weapon was destroyed. Another unit attacked from above. Izuku raised his shield. Clang. The impact pushed Emerald backward. 2. He activated the Alaya-Vijnana. His connection with Emerald became sharper. He moved the machine sideways and struck the enemy's leg. Crack. The mobile suit fell. Izuku immediately moved away. Disabled. Then Barbados crashed through a nearby building. Boom. Mikazuki's Gundam landed beside him. "You okay?" "Yeah, good." Barbados charged forward. Izuku followed. The convoy reached the next district. But the enemy had anticipated them. A powerful mobile suit landed in front of the road. Izuku immediately recognized the machine. "That's Galio Baduin." Orga's voice became tense. "You're sure?" "Yes." The enemy mobile suit raised its weapon. Izuku opened a communication channel. "Everyone, stay behind us." Emerald moved forward. Barbados stood beside him. Galio's voice came through. "Move aside." Izuku answered. "We can't do that. You're children." Izuku tightened his grip. "So are some of the people you're trying to stop." Galio remained silent. Then his mobile suit attacked. The battle erupted. Galio's machine was fast. Emerald blocked the first strike. Clang. Izuku was pushed backward. He immediately countered. The two machines exchanged attacks through the street. Bang. Clang. Crack. Izuku couldn't find an opening. "He's good." Mikazuki suddenly attacked from the side. Galio blocked him. Barbados swung again. Galio retreated. Izuku took the opportunity. Emerald fired at his leg. Bang. Galio dodged. Missed. Izuku accelerated. He didn't fire again. Instead, Emerald rammed into Galio's machine. Both mobile suits crashed through a wall. Boom. Izuku pulled back. Galio's machine remained standing. Still moving. Of course. Galio charged. Izuku raised his weapon. Mikazuki intercepted him. Barbados and Galio clashed again. Izuku looked toward the convoy. "Mika, yeah, I'll clear the road." "Okay." Emerald turned away from the duel. Several Gjallarhorn units were advancing toward the convoy. Izuku accelerated. He fired at their weapons. Bang, bang. One after another, the mobile suits lost their weapons. Izuku didn't stop. He struck another unit's leg. Crack. It collapsed. Then another. Boom. The convoy moved forward. Road is clear. Orga answered. Keep moving. Kudelia's vehicle passed through the opening. Izuku looked back. Barbados was still fighting. Galio remained engaged. Then Mikazuki's voice came through. We're done. Izuku looked. Galio had retreated. Good. Barbados returned. The two Gundams moved alongside the convoy. The fighting continued until nightfall. By then, Tekkadan had reached the outskirts of Edmonton. The Parliament building was visible in the distance. Kudelia looked at it through the window. We're almost there. Izuku nodded. Yes. Orga's voice came through. Everyone, prepare for the final push. Izuku looked at Emerald's damage report. Several armor sections were damaged. Ammunition was running low. His Alaya-Vijnana system was also reporting abnormal neural feedback. He ignored the warning. There was no time. Kudelia stepped out of her vehicle. She looked at Izuku. Thank you. Izuku looked surprised. For what? For getting me this far. Izuku smiled. We're not done yet. She nodded. Then let's finish it. Izuku climbed back into Emerald. The cockpit closed. The Alaya-Vijnana activated. His vision connected with the machine. Ahead stood the final defensive line. Izuku raised his weapon. Tekkadan. Orga's voice echoed through every communication channel. Move forward. Emerald and Barbados accelerated together. The final battle for Edmonton had begun. The battle around Edmonton continued through the night. Gjallarhorn had reinforced the final defensive line, while Tekkadan pushed forward through the streets. Izuku guided Emerald between damaged buildings, constantly checking the tactical display. 3 units ahead, Orga answered through the communication system. Can you handle them? Yes. Emerald accelerated. One of the enemy mobile suits raised its weapon. Izuku fired first. Bang. The weapon was knocked from its hand. Another unit charged. Emerald blocked the attack. Clang. Izuku pushed it backward and struck its leg. Crack. The machine collapsed. 2. The third unit tried to escape. Izuku followed. Stop. The enemy pilot didn't respond. Izuku aimed at the propulsion system. Then hesitated. His finger remained on the trigger. He could destroy the machine. But the cockpit was directly behind the armor. Damn it. The enemy fired again. Izuku dodged. He shot the weapon away. Bang. You're finished. Surrender. The mobile suit stopped. Izuku lowered his rifle. Mikazuki landed nearby. Barbados' weapon was covered in dust. Why didn't you finish it? Izuku looked at him. The pilot surrendered. He could attack again. Then I'll stop him again. Mikazuki stared at Emerald. That's inefficient. Izuku frowned. We don't have to kill everyone. We're in a war. I know. Mikazuki looked toward the battlefield. Then why hesitate? Izuku was silent. He understood Mikazuki's logic. On the battlefield, hesitation could get someone killed. But that didn't mean he had to accept killing as the only answer. Because they're people. Mikazuki looked at him. So, Izuku's expression hardened. So I'd rather bring them down without killing them. Mikazuki didn't respond. Another group of mobile suits appeared. Orga immediately ordered both Gundams forward. Izuku sighed. We're not finished. Emerald accelerated. This time, he moved more aggressively. He targeted weapons, joints, and propulsion systems. Bang. Crack. Boom. One after another, the enemy machines fell. Mikazuki fought differently. Barbados charged straight through the formation. Its weapon struck with brutal precision. Izuku watched him for a moment. Then he noticed something. One enemy mobile suit had fallen behind. Its pilot was trapped. Izuku immediately changed direction. Midoriya, Orga called. I'll handle this. Emerald landed beside the damaged machine. The cockpit was damaged. Izuku opened an external communication channel. Can you hear me? Nothing. He scanned the machine. The cockpit is losing pressure. Izuku opened Emerald's emergency tools. He began cutting through the armor. Come on. The armor separated. Inside was a young pilot. Alive. Barely conscious. Izuku pulled him out. Medical team. I have a wounded pilot. Orga answered. Bring him back. Izuku carried the pilot toward the convoy. Mikazuki watched from a distance. Later, he approached Izuku. You saved an enemy. Izuku looked at the unconscious pilot. Yes. Why? Because he was wounded. Mikazuki tilted his head. He would have killed you. Maybe. Then why? Izuku looked at him. Because if I can save someone without risking everyone else, I will. Mikazuki remained quiet. Izuku added, you don't have to agree with me. I don't. Izuku smiled faintly. That's okay. Mikazuki turned toward Barbados. But I'll protect you. Izuku blinked. What? If you're going to keep doing that. Mikazuki walked away. Izuku stared after him. Then he smiled. Thanks, Mika. The next morning, Tekkadan finally reached the Parliament district. Kudelia stepped out of the vehicle. The streets were damaged, but the Parliament building still stood. Izuku stood beside Emerald. His body was exhausted. His back hurt from the Alaya-Vijnana. But he remained standing. Kudelia looked at him. You didn't kill him. Izuku knew exactly who she meant. No. Why? Izuku looked toward the wounded Gjallarhorn pilot being treated by the medics. Because winning doesn't require killing everyone. Kudelia smiled. I agree. Izuku looked at the Parliament building. Let's hope this is worth it. Kudelia nodded. It will be. Behind them, Mikazuki walked toward Barbados. Orga watched the approaching Parliament. And for the first time since leaving Mars, Tekkadan stood on the edge of something larger than another battle. They had survived the journey. Now they had to make sure Kudelia's voice reached the people of Earth. The battle for Edmonton had ended. For a few hours, Tekkadan finally had something they rarely experienced. Silence. The streets around the Parliament building were still damaged. Abandoned mobile workers and disabled mobile suits remained scattered across the roads. Smoke rose from several distant buildings, slowly disappearing into the morning sky. Inside the temporary headquarters, Tekkadan's members moved between injured soldiers and damaged equipment. Izuku sat inside Emerald's cockpit. The machine had taken heavy damage during the battle. His fingers moved across the control panel, checking the status of every system. Main camera damaged. Left arm response at 62%. Cooling system is unstable. He stopped when another warning appeared. All right. That can wait. Izuku opened the cockpit. The moment he climbed down, pain shot through his back. He grabbed the edge of the hatch. NGH. The Alaya-Vijnana implants were still sending faint signals through his nervous system. He waited until the pain disappeared. Then he looked toward the hangar. Several members of Tekkadan were working around Barbados. Mikazuki was sitting nearby. He noticed Izuku. You're hurt. Just tired. That's not what I asked. Izuku gave him a small smile. I'll be fine. Mikazuki stared at him for another second. Then he looked away. Okay. Orga entered the hangar. His expression was unusually serious. Everyone, stop for a minute. The workers slowly gathered around him. Izuku immediately noticed the empty spaces. Some members were missing. People who had fought beside them on Mars. People who had survived the journey. People who should have been standing there. Orga lowered his head. We lost some of our brothers. Nobody spoke. Izuku clenched his fists. Orga continued. They knew the risks. They knew what kind of fight this would be. His voice became quieter. But that doesn't make it easier. Izuku looked down. One of the youngest members stood nearby, staring at the floor. Izuku walked over and placed a hand on his shoulder. The boy looked up. Midoriya, It's okay. It isn't. Izuku couldn't argue with that. No, it isn't. The boy's eyes became wet. Why did they have to die? Izuku looked toward the damaged mobile suits. Because the people who put us here don't care if we live. The boy said nothing. Izuku continued. That's why we have to change things. Later that afternoon, Kudelia arrived at the headquarters. She had successfully reached the parliament building. Her speech had gone ahead despite the battle. Izuku watched the broadcast from a small monitor. Kudelia stood before the parliament. Her voice was steady. She spoke about Mars, about the human debris, about children who had been forced to fight because nobody considered them worth protecting. Izuku listened silently. Behind him, several Tekkadan members watched as well. One of them whispered, "She's really saying it, yeah, about us." Izuku nodded. "That's why we brought her here." Orga entered the room. "And now we wait." Izuku turned toward him. "For what?" "For the next move." The next move came sooner than expected. A warning appeared on the tactical monitor. Unknown mobile suits approaching. Izuku immediately stood. Gjallarhorn. Confirmed. Orga looked at the display. How many? Multiple units. Izuku walked toward Emerald. They're not here to attack. Orga looked at him. How do you know? Their formation. Izuku pointed at the screen. They're surrounding the area instead of moving toward the parliament. Orga's expression hardened. They're testing us. Probably. Mikazuki climbed into Barbados. Then let's go. Orga raised his hand. Wait. Mikazuki stopped. Orga looked at everyone. We don't know what they're planning. Izuku examined the data. Then his eyes widened. They're pulling back. The Gjallarhorn units began retreating. Why? Nobody knew. Izuku continued watching the screen. This isn't over. That evening, the members of Tekkadan gathered for dinner. The atmosphere was quieter than usual. There were fewer voices. Fewer people. Izuku sat beside Mikazuki. He looked around the table. Everyone's tired. Mikazuki continued eating. Yeah. Izuku lowered his voice. Do you think we can really win? Mikazuki looked at him. We already got this far. That's not what I mean. Then what? Izuku paused. How many more people are we going to lose? Mikazuki didn't answer immediately. I don't know. Izuku looked down. Neither do I. Mikazuki continued eating. That's why I'll get stronger. Izuku looked at him. So nobody has to protect you. So I can protect them. Izuku smiled. That's a good reason. The following morning, Tekkadan received confirmation. Kudelia's mission had succeeded. The political situation on Mars had begun to change. But their victory had come at a cost. Izuku stood before Emerald. Technicians were repairing the mobile worker while he reviewed the combat data. The Alaya-Vijnana system had recorded everything. Every movement, every reaction, every mistake. Izuku stared at the final report. His neural response time had improved. His connection to the machine had become faster. But the strain on his nervous system had also increased. He closed the report. I need to be more careful. Mikazuki walked past him. You won't. Izuku looked over. What? You'll push yourself again. Izuku laughed quietly. You know me too well. Yeah. Mikazuki stopped beside him. But I'll be there. Izuku looked at Barbados. Then at Emerald. Two machines built for war. Two children who had learned how to pilot them because there had been no other choice. Then I'll be there too. Outside the hangar, the sun rose over Edmonton. Their mission was over. Their losses would never be forgotten. But Tekkadan was still moving forward. And for the children of Mars, the road ahead had only just begun. The news from Edmonton spread quickly. Kudelia had delivered her message, and the political situation on Mars was beginning to shift. For Tekkadan, it meant their journey had achieved something important. But it also attracted attention. Not all of it was friendly. Izuku stood inside the hangar, reviewing the latest reports on a portable terminal. Several reports concerned Gjallarhorn movements, while others focused on their new contacts. One name appeared repeatedly: McGillis Farid. Izuku stared at the screen. Something doesn't feel right about him. Orga's voice came from behind. Izuku turned. Yeah. Orga crossed his arms. You've met him before. Only briefly. And Izuku thought for a moment. He's calm. Too calm. Orga raised an eyebrow. That's your problem with him. Not exactly. Izuku pointed at the reports. He's giving us information about Gjallarhorn. He's helping Kudelia. He's offering us resources. But I still don't know what he actually wants. Orga remained silent. Izuku continued. People don't take risks like this for nothing. The hangar doors suddenly opened. A small group entered. McGillis walked at the front. Galio followed behind him. Orga immediately approached. McGillis. Orga. McGillis glanced around the hangar before looking at Izuku. And you must be Izuku Midoriya. Izuku nodded. Yes. I've heard about your mobile suit. Izuku glanced toward Emerald. It's still being repaired. Yet you managed to fight several Gjallarhorn units during the descent. Izuku didn't respond. McGillis smiled slightly. Your tactical ability interests me. Izuku's expression remained cautious. Why? Galio looked at him. You always ask questions like that. When someone with your position starts showing interest in us, yes. Orga almost smiled. McGillis, however, didn't seem offended. Then I'll be direct. He placed a data tablet on the table. I intend to change Gjallarhorn. Izuku looked at the tablet. From inside, yes. And you want Tekkadan to help you. McGillis nodded. Eventually. Orga looked at the information. What are you offering? Access. Protection. Resources. McGillis tapped the screen. And a future where Tekkadan is no longer treated as disposable. Izuku's eyes narrowed. What's the price? McGillis looked directly at him. Power. The meeting continued for almost an hour. McGillis explained his plans. He wanted to rise through Gjallarhorn's hierarchy and eventually reform the organization from the top. Orga listened carefully. Izuku said very little. Instead, he watched McGillis. Every gesture, every pause, every change in expression. When the meeting ended, McGillis left with Galio. Orga remained behind. Well, Izuku folded his arms. He's dangerous. Orga frowned. Because he's powerful. Because he knows exactly what he wants. Orga stared at him. Izuku continued. He isn't asking us to follow him blindly. He's giving us exactly what we need. And that's bad. It can be. Izuku pointed toward the door. He knows we're desperate for a place where we can belong. He knows we want Mars to become independent. And he knows you want Tekkadan to become strong enough that nobody can ever control us again. Orga became silent. He's offering the fastest path to all of that. But, Izuku looked at him. But he wants us to walk his path. Orga leaned against the table. You don't trust him. Not yet. Later that evening, Izuku found Mikazuki near Barbados. Mikazuki was inspecting the Gundam's weapon. Mika, what? McGillis wants to work with us. I know. What do you think? Mikazuki shrugged. If Orga thinks it's useful, I'll fight. Izuku sighed. You make everything sound simple. It usually is. Izuku looked at Barbados. That's what worries me. Mikazuki looked at him. You think Orga will make a bad decision? I think he might make a decision because he wants to protect everyone. Mikazuki didn't answer. Izuku continued. Those aren't always the same thing. Orga stood alone on the observation deck. Earth stretched beneath the glass. Izuku joined him. For several seconds, neither spoke. Finally, Orga asked, Do you think I'm making a mistake? Izuku looked at him. I don't know. Orga smiled faintly. That's not very helpful. I'd rather be honest. Orga looked back toward Earth. We need power. I know. We need allies. I know. And McGillis can give us both. Izuku nodded. Yes. Orga turned toward him. Then why are you against it? I'm not against it. Izuku's expression became serious. I just don't want Tekkadan to become someone's weapon. Orga stared at him. We've been weapons our entire lives. Exactly. Izuku stepped closer. That's why we have to be careful. Orga remained silent. Izuku continued. We finally have the chance to decide what we become. If we hand that decision to someone else, then we're no different from the people who owned us. The words stayed between them. Orga looked down. Then he smiled. You've gotten pretty good at talking. Izuku laughed. I've had practice. I'll think about it. That's all I'm asking. The following day, McGillis sent another message. His proposal remained open. Orga eventually accepted a limited alliance. Not a complete partnership. Not yet. Izuku didn't object. But he kept the data tablet McGillis had provided. He studied every piece of information about Gjallarhorn. Their command structure. Their supply routes. Their mobile suit deployments. Their political factions. And especially McGillis Farid. Izuku stopped at one particular file. You're hiding something. He closed the file. Outside the hangar, Emerald was finally ready. The green mobile suit stood beside Barbados. 2 machines, 2 pilots, and an uncertain alliance that could change the future of Mars. Izuku climbed into Emerald. The cockpit closed. The Alaya-Vijnana activated. Emerald, systems check. The machine responded. All systems operational. Izuku looked at the tactical display. For now, McGillis was an ally. But Izuku had no intention of forgetting that an ally could become an enemy. Not when the future of Tekkadan was at stake. The mission had taken Tekkadan back to Mars. What was supposed to be a routine operation quickly became something else. The first warning came from the ground. We've detected unusual movement beneath the ruins. Izuku looked at the monitor inside Emerald's cockpit. How deep? Approximately 200 meters. He frowned. That's too large to be a normal mobile suit. Mikazuki's voice came through the communication system. Then what is it? Izuku checked the readings again. I don't know. A violent tremor suddenly shook the area. Boom. Dust and rocks fell from the ruined structures. Everyone, move away. Izuku accelerated Emerald. The ground behind him split apart. Crack. Something enormous emerged from beneath the surface. Its mechanical body rose above the ruins. Multiple weapons unfolded across its frame. Izuku stared. That's a mobile armor. Orga immediately responded. Everyone, fall back. The machine's sensors activated. Then its weapons fired. Boom. 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 The surrounding battlefield disappeared beneath explosions. Emerald moved between the ruins. Izuku watched the mobile armor's movements. It's targeting anything that moves. Mikazuki answered. Then I'll destroy it. Barbados accelerated toward the machine. Mika. Wait. Barbados was already gone. Izuku clenched his teeth. He's going straight in. The mobile armor rotated. Multiple projectiles launched toward Barbados. Bang. 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 Barbados dodged several attacks. One projectile struck the ground beside it. Boom. Mikazuki's machine was thrown sideways. Mika, I'm fine. Izuku accelerated. Emerald moved directly toward the mobile armor. He studied its structure. There, a large section beneath the main body was exposed whenever the machine turned. That's probably one of its cooling systems. Izuku transmitted the information. Mika, attack underneath the main body. Okay. Emerald fired. Bang. The shot struck the mobile armor's armor. Almost nothing happened. Too thick. Izuku changed tactics. He targeted its smaller weapons instead. Bang. One weapon exploded. Another projectile came toward him. Emerald twisted sideways. The projectile passed within meters. Izuku immediately fired again. Bang. Another weapon was destroyed. It's adapting. The mobile armor changed direction. Its massive body turned toward Emerald. Izuku's danger alarm sounded. Too late. A beam shot toward him. He pushed Emerald forward. The beam passed behind the mobile suit. Izuku looked at the display. That was close. Then Barbados attacked. The Gundam jumped onto the mobile armor. Mikazuki drove his weapon into its armor. Crack. The mobile armor shook violently. Now, Emerald accelerated. Izuku targeted the damaged section. Mika, move. Barbados jumped away. Emerald fired. Boom. The armor broke apart. The mobile armor screamed through its mechanical systems. But it didn't stop. Its remaining weapons activated. Izuku's eyes widened. Everyone, get down. The mobile armor unleashed a barrage. Boom. 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 The battlefield disappeared beneath explosions. Mobile workers were thrown into the air. Izuku saw several Tekkadan members trapped behind debris. Hold on. Emerald moved toward them. Black smoke covered the battlefield. Izuku activated the Alaya-Vijnana. His connection with Emerald became sharper. He could feel the machine's movement through his body. Come on. Emerald accelerated. He reached the trapped mobile workers and pulled one away from the explosion. Another projectile approached. Izuku turned Emerald. The projectile struck his shoulder. Boom. Emerald was thrown backward. Warning signals filled the cockpit. Right shoulder damaged. Izuku breathed heavily. Still operational. He looked toward the mobile armor. It was preparing another attack. Then Barbados appeared. Mikazuki had reached the machine again. Izuku. Yeah, I'll hold it. Izuku understood immediately. I'll find the weak point. Izuku opened every sensor available. He analyzed the mobile armor's movement. Weapon deployment. Power distribution. Cooling cycles. Armor structure. Then he saw it. A small delay whenever the machine fired its primary weapon. Mika. What? 3 seconds after the main cannon fires, the armor beneath its central section opens. Got it. Barbados charged. The mobile armor fired. Boom. Barbados dodged. 1 second. 2. 3. Now. Barbados struck the exposed section. Crack. The armor split. Emerald fired directly into the opening. Boom. The mobile armor staggered. Its weapons shut down one after another. Mikazuki didn't hesitate. Barbados raised its weapon. Finish it. Emerald moved beside him. Both machines attacked together. Boom. The mobile armor collapsed into the ruins. Silence returned. Izuku sat motionless inside Emerald. His hands were trembling. The Alaya-Vijnana warning remained on the display. Neural feedback critical. He slowly disconnected from the system. Pain spread through his back. NGH. His breathing became uneven. The cockpit opened. Mikazuki's voice came through. Izuku. I'm okay. You don't look okay. Izuku forced a smile. Just the Alaya-Vijnana. Mikazuki looked toward Emerald. You pushed it too hard. I know. Orga contacted them. Both of you. Return to the ship. Izuku looked at the remains of the mobile armor. What was that thing? Orga answered. We don't know yet. Izuku stared at the wreckage. If that thing was buried here for decades. He paused. There could be more. Mikazuki looked toward the ruins. Then we'll destroy them too. Izuku didn't answer. The discovery had changed everything. The mobile armor wasn't simply an old machine. It was a weapon designed for a war that had ended hundreds of years ago. And somehow, it had awakened beneath Mars once again. Mars had never been this quiet. Izuku noticed it the moment he stepped out of Emerald's cockpit. There were no workers moving around the hangar. No arguments. No laughter. Only the low hum of machines preparing for battle. He looked toward the tactical display. How many? The operator swallowed. Multiple fleets. Izuku stepped closer. The screen showed dozens of mobile suits surrounding Tekkadan's base. Then more markers appeared. His expression changed. That's not an ordinary fleet. Orga entered the command room. What is it? Izuku pointed at the display. They're not trying to capture us. Orga stared at the formation. They're surrounding the entire base. Exactly. Izuku zoomed in. They're closing every major route. A second display appeared. Several enormous weapons were being prepared aboard Gjallarhorn ships. Izuku recognized them immediately. Dainsleif. The room became silent. Orga's expression hardened. So Rustle decided to finish this. Izuku nodded. He's making sure we can't escape. The first bombardment came minutes later. Boom. The entire base shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. All units, defensive positions. Orga's order echoed through the communication network. Izuku ran toward Emerald. The green mobile suit was already being prepared. A mechanic shouted from below. Midoriya. The Alaya-Vijnana is still showing abnormal neural feedback. Izuku stopped. How bad? Bad enough that you shouldn't be piloting. Izuku looked toward the battlefield. Another explosion shook the hangar. Boom. We don't have that luxury. He climbed into the cockpit. The hatch closed. The Alaya-Vijnana activated. Pain immediately spread through his back. NGH. Warning symbols appeared across the screen. He ignored them. Emerald. Launch. The mobile suit launched from the hangar. The sky above Mars was filled with fire. Gjallarhorn mobile suits descended toward the base. Izuku accelerated. Emerald raised its rifle. Bang. One enemy mobile suit lost its weapon. Another approached from the side. Emerald spun around and struck its arm. Crack. The machine fell. Two disabled. Another group appeared. Izuku's eyes moved rapidly across the tactical display. They're trying to push us toward the eastern sector. Orga answered. Why? Because the western route is their kill zone. Izuku zoomed in. His eyes widened. There are Dainsleif units waiting there. Orga immediately understood. Everyone, change direction. Emerald moved toward the eastern sector. Barbados followed. Mikazuki's voice came through. Where are we going? Underground maintenance tunnels. Can they fit the mobile suits? Barely. Mikazuki didn't hesitate. Then let's go. Emerald landed near the entrance. Izuku opened the tactical map. We can use the tunnels to reach the old mining district. Orga joined the communication channel. What about everyone else? Izuku paused. We can't take the entire base. Silence. Then what do we do? Izuku looked at the map. There were civilians, mechanics, children, injured members, people who couldn't fight. We evacuate them first. Orga agreed. How long? If we move now, maybe 20 minutes. Another explosion shook the base. You have 10. Izuku clenched his teeth. Then we'll make 10 minutes enough. The evacuation began. Mobile workers transported people toward the tunnels. Izuku and Mikazuki remained outside. Gjallarhorn units continued advancing. Mika. Yeah, don't let them reach the entrance. Okay. Barbados charged. Boom. Its weapon struck the ground beside an enemy mobile suit. Emerald attacked another from behind. Bang. The machine collapsed. Izuku moved constantly. He didn't try to destroy every enemy. He targeted joints, weapons, and propulsion systems. One enemy raised its rifle. Emerald fired first. Bang. The weapon flew away. Keep moving. The evacuation convoy entered the tunnel. One group after another disappeared underground. Izuku watched the final transport vehicle enter. Everyone's inside. Orga answered. Then fall back. Izuku looked at the battlefield. Not yet. Midoriya. He saw another group of mobile suits approaching. If we leave now, they'll follow us into the tunnel. Mikazuki understood. We stay. Just long enough. The enemy fleet suddenly stopped. Izuku noticed it immediately. Why did they stop? Mikazuki looked toward the sky. Then the answer arrived. Multiple Dainsleif projectiles were launched from orbit. Izuku's eyes widened. Move. Barbados accelerated. Emerald followed. The projectiles struck the battlefield. Boom. 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 The ground erupted. Emerald was thrown through the air. Ah! The Alaya-Vijnana overloaded. Pain shot through Izuku's spine. Warning alarms screamed. Neural feedback critical. He gritted his teeth. Not yet. Emerald crashed into the ground. Crack. Izuku struggled to move his hands. Come on. The controls responded. Slowly. Emerald stood. Barbados appeared through the smoke. Mikazuki's voice came through. Izuku. I'm here. We should go. Izuku looked toward the tunnel entrance. The evacuation was almost complete. He finally nodded. Yeah. Emerald turned around. Barbados followed. Both machines disappeared into the underground route as another volley of Dainsleif tore through the base. Deep underground, Tekkadan's survivors gathered in the old mining tunnels. Orga looked at the tactical display. The main base had been destroyed. Their routes were blocked. Gjallarhorn had surrounded the entire area. Izuku entered the command room. His face was pale. Orga immediately noticed. You need medical attention. Later. Midoriya. We don't have time. Izuku pointed toward the map. Rustle thinks we're trapped. Orga looked at him. Aren't we? Izuku shook his head. Not completely. He brought up an old mining map. There's a forgotten transportation tunnel beneath the eastern sector. Orga stared. That tunnel was abandoned years ago. Exactly. Izuku enlarged the route. Gjallarhorn won't know we're using it because it doesn't appear on the current Mars infrastructure network. Orga looked at him. Where does it lead? Izuku smiled faintly. Far enough from here. Mikazuki approached. Then let's use it. Orga nodded. All right. He turned toward everyone. We're abandoning the base. Nobody complained. They already understood what that meant. Their home was gone. But they were alive. Izuku looked back at the tactical screen. Gjallarhorn's fleet remained above them. Rustle Elion had expected Tekkadan to make a final stand. Instead, Tekkadan had vanished underground. Izuku closed the map. He thinks the battle is over. Orga looked at him. And Izuku glanced toward Emerald's damaged frame. It's not. Outside, the destroyed base burned beneath the red sky. Deep below the surface, the remaining members of Tekkadan began their escape. And above them, Rustle's forces waited for an enemy that was no longer where they expected. The old mining tunnel was barely wide enough for the transport vehicles. One by one, Tekkadan moved deeper beneath the surface of Mars. Izuku sat inside Emerald, monitoring the tactical network. Gjallarhorn was still searching for them. They haven't noticed the tunnel yet, he said. Orga stood in the command vehicle. How long until we reach the old facility? 20 minutes. Orga nodded. Good. Then the communication screen suddenly flickered. We've been detected. Izuku's eyes widened. What? The operator pointed toward the display. Several Gjallarhorn units had appeared behind them. They found the entrance. Orga immediately stood. How many? At least 15 mobile suits. Izuku looked at the map. The tunnel ahead was too narrow for a large-scale battle. They're going to chase us inside. Mikazuki's voice came through. Then I'll stop them. Izuku answered immediately. I'll stay with you. Orga looked at both of them. No. Izuku froze. Orga, you two are going to the rear entrance. He pointed toward the map. There's another route here. Take it and protect the evacuation convoy. Mikazuki remained silent. Izuku understood what Orga was planning. You're staying behind. Orga looked at him. Someone has to. The convoy continued moving. Emerald and Barbados turned around. The two mobile suits stopped at the tunnel junction. Izuku looked at Mikazuki. He's going to stay. Yeah, we should go back. Mikazuki shook his head. Orga told us to protect everyone. Izuku clenched his hands. He hated it. But Mikazuki was right. The first enemy mobile suit entered the tunnel. Izuku raised Emerald's rifle. Bang. The machine collapsed. Another appeared. Barbados charged. Crash. The enemy was thrown backward. They're coming fast. Izuku checked the tactical display. There are more behind them. Mikazuki gripped his weapon. Then we keep fighting. At the rear of the convoy, Orga stood beside the command vehicle. He watched the evacuation route. Several younger members were still moving through the tunnel. One of them looked back. Orga, keep moving. But, that's an order. The boy hesitated. Orga softened his voice. You need to live. The boy finally turned and continued running. Orga looked toward the distant sound of battle. Boom. The tunnel shook. He closed his eyes for a moment. Then opened them again. Come on, guys. Emerald took another hit. Boom. Izuku's mobile suit slammed against the tunnel wall. Warning signals appeared. Left armor damaged. He immediately corrected the machine. Another enemy rushed forward. Izuku fired. Bang. The mobile suit lost its weapon. Barbados destroyed another. Crack. Mikazuki looked at him. Your machine is damaged. So is yours. Mine can still move. So can mine. They continued fighting. The enemy numbers were slowly decreasing. But new signals appeared. Izuku stared at the display. That's not possible. What? They've sent another unit. A powerful mobile suit entered the tunnel. Izuku recognized it. That's a command unit. Mikazuki raised his weapon. Then we destroy it. The command unit fired. Boom. Emerald dodged. Barbados attacked from the side. The enemy blocked the strike. Izuku moved behind it. He aimed at the joints. Bang. The shot hit. The enemy staggered. Mikazuki attacked again. Crack. The armor broke. Izuku followed with another shot. Boom. The enemy collapsed. The tunnel became silent. Izuku breathed heavily. Did we get them all? The tactical display showed no immediate contacts. Mikazuki lowered his weapon. Looks like it. Then the communication system activated. Orga's voice came through. How long? Izuku checked the evacuation status. Almost everyone is out. Good. Orga paused. Then retreat. Izuku immediately turned emerald. What about you? There was silence. Orga. The communication returned. I'll follow. Izuku didn't believe him. You're lying. Orga didn't answer. Orga. Midoriya. His voice was calm. Get everyone out. Izuku's eyes widened. No. That's an order. We can come back for you. You can't. Yes, we can. Izuku's voice became louder. We can fight together. Orga remained silent for several seconds. That's exactly why I can't let you. Izuku clenched his teeth. Mikazuki looked toward him. Izuku. We're leaving. Izuku stared at the communication screen. I don't want to. Orga laughed quietly. Neither do I. The convoy reached the secondary exit. One by one, the vehicles emerged onto the surface. Izuku and Mikazuki were the last to leave. Emerald stopped at the entrance. Izuku looked back. The tunnel behind them was dark. Orga. No answer. Orga. Still nothing. Then the communication channel opened one final time. Take care of them. Izuku's eyes became wet. We will. And Midoriya. Yeah. Don't let Tekkadan die with me. Izuku swallowed. I promise. The transmission ended. Mikazuki looked toward Emerald. Let's go. Izuku hesitated. Then Emerald turned toward the convoy. The two mobile suits moved away from the tunnel. Behind them, explosions echoed beneath the ground. Boom. Another. Boom. Then silence. Izuku stopped. He looked back one last time. Orga had given them his final order. Not to avenge him. Not to fight until everyone was dead. To survive. Izuku lowered his head. We'll carry it forward. Emerald accelerated. Barbados followed. The remaining members of Tekkadan disappeared into the darkness of Mars, carrying the weight of their fallen leader and the responsibility he had left behind. The war was not over. But Tekkadan would continue. The red sky above Chris Base was filled with smoke. The evacuation convoy had already disappeared beyond the eastern ridge, carrying the surviving members of Tekkadan toward safety. Izuku knew he should have been with them. Instead, Emerald stood alone on the surface. Barbados stood several hundred meters away. Mikazuki remained beside him. The communication channel was unusually quiet. Then a warning appeared. Multiple contacts detected. Izuku looked at the tactical display. They found us. Mikazuki raised Barbados' weapon. How many? Too many. Dozens of mobile suits descended from the sky. Behind them came additional units. Then the orbiting fleet opened fire. Boom. The ground erupted. Izuku immediately moved Emerald. They're bombarding the entire base. Another projectile struck nearby. Boom. Emerald was thrown sideways. Izuku gripped the controls. Stay up. The Alaya-Vijnana activated. Pain shot through his back. NGH. Warning signals appeared. Neural feedback increasing. Izuku ignored them. Emerald stood again. Come on. The first wave of mobile suits attacked. Izuku fired. Bang. One machine lost its rifle. Another charged from the side. Emerald blocked the attack and kicked the mobile suit backward. Crack. Mikazuki rushed past him. Barbados slammed its weapon into an enemy machine. Boom. Left. Izuku shouted. Mikazuki moved instantly. A projectile passed where Barbados had been standing. Thanks. There are more coming. I know. Emerald accelerated. Izuku moved between the enemy units, firing at their weapons and joints. He didn't have enough ammunition to destroy them all, so he concentrated on disabling them. Bang. Crack. Boom. One after another, mobile suits fell. But the enemy kept coming. They're not stopping. Mikazuki answered calmly. Then we don't stop either. Another bombardment came from orbit. Izuku looked upward. His eyes widened. Dainsleaf. Multiple projectiles descended. Mika. Move. Both Gundams accelerated. The projectiles struck the battlefield. Boom. 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 The shockwaves tore through the ground. Emerald barely escaped the impact. One projectile struck its left leg. Crack. The machine stumbled. Left leg damaged. Izuku tried to stabilize it. His body suddenly went numb. The Alaya-Vijnana was overloading. Warning. Neural synchronization unstable. Izuku gritted his teeth. Not now. His left hand trembled. He forced it to move. Emerald raised its rifle. Bang. The enemy unit ahead lost its weapon. Another attacked. Izuku dodged. I can still fight. Mikazuki suddenly appeared beside him. You should retreat. No. Your machine is damaged. So is yours. Mikazuki looked at Emerald. You're shaking. Izuku glanced at his own hands. They were trembling. I can still move. Mikazuki nodded. Then keep moving. Barbados charged ahead. Izuku followed. The two Gundams broke through another formation. Boom. A mobile suit exploded. Another collapsed. The battlefield became a storm of metal and fire. Inside the command bunker, the remaining Tekkadan members watched the battle. Ride stared at the monitor. They're still fighting. One of the others shook his head. They're buying us time. Ride clenched his fists. We can't just leave them. A voice came through the communication system. Izuku. Keep moving. Ride froze. Midoriya. Don't come back. But, that's an order. Izuku's breathing was heavy. Get everyone to the evacuation point. Ride looked at the screen. Emerald was surrounded. Barbados was fighting through another group. You promised we'd survive. Izuku paused, then answered. And I'm keeping that promise. The transmission ended. Emerald's rifle ran out of ammunition. Izuku threw it aside. Fine. He drew the mobile suit's melee weapon. An enemy charged. Emerald stepped forward. Clang. The weapons collided. Izuku pushed harder. Emerald's damaged leg almost gave out. Come on. He struck the enemy's arm. Crack. The enemy staggered. Emerald followed with another attack. Boom. The machine collapsed. Another enemy appeared behind him. Danger. Izuku reacted before the warning finished. Emerald turned. Clang. The attack was blocked. Mikazuki destroyed the enemy from behind. You're getting slow. Izuku laughed despite himself. Thanks for the encouragement. You're welcome. Then the fleet above them changed formation. Izuku looked at the display. They're preparing another bombardment. Mikazuki stopped. How big? Izuku stared at the readings. Massive. Orga's final order came back to him. Get everyone out. Don't let Tekkadan die with me. Izuku looked toward the evacuation route. Nothing appeared on the radar. The convoy was gone. They had made it. Mika. Yeah, we did it. Mikazuki looked at him. Not yet. Izuku smiled. You're right. He turned Emerald toward the approaching enemy fleet. Then let's make sure they can't follow. Emerald and Barbados charged together. They moved deeper into the battlefield. Izuku activated the Alaya-Vijnana beyond its recommended limit. Pain exploded through his back. Ah! The system screamed warnings. He ignored everyone. Emerald became faster. He moved between enemy mobile suits, striking their weapons and engines. Mikazuki followed. Barbados smashed through the formation. Boom! One enemy fell. Another. Then another. For a few seconds, the two Gundams created a gap in the enemy line. Izuku looked at the tactical display. There. He spotted the command relay controlling the surrounding units. Mika. Cover me. Okay. Emerald accelerated. Enemy units tried to intercept him. Barbados destroyed them. Izuku reached the relay. He raised his weapon. Boom. The command unit exploded. The enemy formation broke apart. Izuku breathed heavily. That's it. Mikazuki landed beside him. We should go. Izuku looked at the sky. More enemy units were already approaching. Yeah. The two Gundams turned toward the evacuation route. Then Emerald's left leg finally failed. Crack. Izuku's cockpit shook. Emerald. The machine fell to one knee. Mikazuki stopped. Izuku. I'm fine. He tried to move. Emerald stood again. Slowly. Pain continued spreading through his body. But the machine remained operational. Izuku looked ahead. Let's go. Barbados moved beside him. The two Gundams disappeared into the red dust as the orbital fleet continued searching for them. Behind them, Chris base burned. Ahead waited an uncertain future. But the children of Tekkadan were still alive. And that was enough for Izuku to keep moving. The red desert stretched endlessly beneath the dim light of Mars. Emerald moved slowly across the rocky terrain. Its left leg was badly damaged. Its armor was covered in burn marks, and several systems had already shut down. Inside the cockpit, Izuku struggled to remain conscious. The Alaya-Vijnana continued sending warnings. Neural feedback critical. He ignored it. His breathing was heavy. Just a little farther. The evacuation convoy had already reached the rendezvous point. That was all that mattered. Then the radar beeped. Izuku's eyes opened wider. They're following us. Multiple Gjallarhorn mobile suits appeared behind them. Mikazuki's voice came through. How many? At least 20. Then I'll stop them. Barbados turned around. Izuku immediately stopped Emerald. I'm staying. Mikazuki looked at him. Your machine can't fight anymore. It can still move. Barely. Izuku looked at the approaching enemy forces. We promised we'd protect them. Mikazuki remained silent. Then Barbados raised its weapon. Then let's protect them. The first enemy mobile suit entered firing range. Bang. Emerald fired its remaining ammunition. The shot struck the enemy's shoulder. The machine staggered. Mikazuki rushed forward. Barbados smashed into it. Boom. Another enemy attacked from behind. Emerald blocked the strike. Clang. Izuku pushed the enemy away. His damaged leg screamed with mechanical warnings. Come on. Emerald's thrusters activated. The machine moved despite the damage. Izuku fired again. Bang. The enemy's weapon was destroyed. Barbados finished it. One more. Mikazuki accelerated. Izuku followed. The enemy forces surrounded them. Izuku checked the tactical display. They're trying to delay us. Mikazuki answered. They're waiting for something. Izuku looked at the sky. His expression changed. Dainsleif. A projectile descended. Then another. Izuku shouted. Move. Barbados and Emerald separated. Boom. The Dainsleif struck the ground. The shockwave threw Emerald into the air. Izuku lost control for several seconds. Emerald. He forced the controls to respond. The mobile suit crashed onto the ground. Crack. Izuku's body slammed against the seat. Pain spread through his back. The Alaya-Vijnana overloaded. His vision blurred. But he remained conscious. Still here. Emerald slowly stood. Barbados was surrounded. Mikazuki fought through the enemy formation. Izuku watched the data. Mika. 3 on your right. Barbados immediately turned. Crash. 1 enemy fell. Behind you. Mikazuki moved. Bang. Another enemy lost its weapon. Thanks. Izuku smiled. Anytime. Then another group appeared. Izuku stared at the radar. There are too many. Mikazuki didn't answer. He simply continued fighting. Izuku understood. Neither of them intended to retreat. Hours passed. The battle continued across the desert. Emerald's weapons were almost gone. Barbados had taken severe damage. Yet neither machine stopped. 1 enemy charged Izuku. Emerald raised its weapon. Click. Empty. Izuku's eyes widened. Damn. The enemy raised its blade. Emerald blocked it with its damaged arm. Clang. The arm began to crack. Izuku pushed back. Then he activated the remaining thrusters. Emerald slammed into the enemy. Boom. Both machines fell. Izuku struggled to recover. The enemy was still moving. He raised Emerald's weapon again. Click. Nothing. Then Barbados arrived. Mikazuki destroyed the enemy. You're out of ammunition. I noticed. Then stop fighting. Izuku laughed weakly. You first. Mikazuki paused. Fair. The enemy fleet suddenly began retreating. Izuku looked at the radar. Why are they leaving? Mikazuki looked toward the horizon. They're not. Izuku checked the data. His eyes widened. They're going after the convoy. He immediately turned Emerald. We have to go. Both Gundams accelerated. Despite their damage, they moved as fast as they could. The convoy was approaching the evacuation point. Gjallarhorn units followed behind. Izuku opened the communication channel. Ride. How far? 5 minutes. Keep moving. What about you? We'll hold them. The convoy disappeared beyond the ridge. Izuku looked back. The enemy forces were approaching. They're safe. Mikazuki nodded. Then we can finish this. Emerald and Barbados turned around. They faced the approaching army. Izuku's hands rested on the controls. The Alaya-Vijnana was barely functioning. His body felt numb, but he could still move. Mikazuki stood beside him. Izuku. Yeah, it was good fighting with you. Izuku smiled. Same here. The enemy army charged. Boom. Barbados moved first. Emerald followed. They fought side by side. One last time. Metal struck metal. Weapons collided. Explosions filled the desert. Izuku pushed Emerald beyond its limits. Mikazuki did the same with Barbados. Neither machine surrendered. Neither pilot turned away. And far beyond the battlefield, the last members of Tekkadan continued toward a new life. The battle eventually fell silent. Emerald stood motionless in the middle of the ruined battlefield. Its armor was almost completely destroyed. Inside the cockpit, Izuku leaned forward. His eyes slowly closed. The Alaya-Vijnana disconnected. The final warning disappeared. For a moment, there was only silence. Then the cockpit opened. Izuku looked toward the horizon. Barbados was still standing nearby. Mikazuki climbed out. He looked at Izuku. They're gone. Izuku nodded. Good. Mikazuki looked toward the distant lights of the evacuation convoy. We kept our promise. Izuku smiled. Yeah, the two remained there for a while. Behind them lay the battlefield. Ahead waited the future. Tekkadan had lost almost everything. their base, their home, their leader, their brothers. But the children who survived were still alive. And that was what Orga had wanted. Izuku looked at the red sky. Let's go. Mikazuki nodded. They turned away from the battlefield. Behind them, the two battered mobile suits remained among the ruins of Mars. The iron flowers had fallen. But the people they protected were still alive. And their story would continue without them. Years passed after the fall of Tekkadan. Mars was no longer the same place. The old system that had treated human debris as disposable had begun to collapse. Laws were changed, organizations were dismantled, and children who once had no future were finally given opportunities to study, work, and live without being forced into combat. In the city of Chris, a new school stood where an abandoned industrial facility had once been. Children filled the courtyard. Among them were former human debris. Some carried books. Others worked on small machines. None carried weapons. A young boy stopped beneath a large monument. The monument showed several figures standing together beneath the symbol of Tekkadan. He looked up. Who were they? An older woman standing nearby smiled. They were children from Mars. Were they soldiers? Yes. The boy frowned. Why did children have to become soldiers? The woman looked toward the monument. Because nobody gave them another choice. Inside the school, a history lesson was underway. The teacher placed an old photograph on the screen. It showed Tekkadan during their journey to Earth. Orga stood near the center. Mikazuki was beside Barbados. And slightly behind them stood Izuku. The students immediately recognized the mobile suits. Barbados. That's the Gundam that fought at Edmonton. The teacher nodded. Correct. Another student raised his hand. What about the green one? The teacher smiled. That was Emerald. Who piloted it? Izuku Midoriya. The classroom became quiet. The teacher continued. He was one of Tekkadan's tactical pilots. Unlike most pilots, he spent as much time studying battlefield patterns as he did fighting. A student looked at the image. Was he strong? The teacher paused. Very. Far from the classroom, on the outskirts of Chris, an old hangar remained. The building had been abandoned for years. Inside stood two mobile suits. Barbados and Emerald. Both were heavily damaged. Neither had been repaired. Izuku stood in front of Emerald. He was older now. The scars left by the Alaya-Vijnana were still visible along his back, but he had survived. He placed his hand against Emerald's damaged armor. You lasted longer than you should have. A familiar voice came from behind. You did too. Izuku turned. Kudelia stood at the entrance. She had changed as well. She was now one of the people helping rebuild Mars. Izuku smiled. How's the new school? Full. That's good. Very full. Kudelia walked toward Emerald. The children still ask about you. Izuku blinked. Me, and Mikazuki. Izuku looked toward Barbados. What did they ask? Whether you were heroes. Izuku laughed quietly. Were we? Kudelia looked at him. What do you think? Izuku thought for a moment. We were children who wanted to survive. Kudelia smiled. That's exactly what I tell them. The hangar doors opened. Sunlight entered the building. Izuku looked at the two mobile suits one last time. Are they going to be preserved? Kudelia nodded. Yes. As weapons. No. She pointed toward a nearby building. As history. Izuku smiled. Good. Later that afternoon, Izuku visited the school. The moment he entered the courtyard, several children recognized him. Midoriya. Izuku stopped. A group of students ran toward him. Did you really pilot Emerald? Yes. Did you really fight Gjallarhorn? Yes. Did you really fight alongside Barbados? Izuku glanced toward the school building. That part is true. One child looked up at him. Were you scared? Izuku became quiet. Yes. The children looked surprised. But you still fought. Being scared doesn't mean you can't do something. The boy nodded. Like what? Izuku smiled. Anything that helps someone else. That evening, Izuku returned to the old hangar. He stood between Emerald and Barbados. The two machines were silent. He remembered the first time he had entered Emerald. The first battle. The journey through space. Edmonton. The mobile armor. Orga's final order. And the desert where Tekkadan had made its last stand. He didn't regret surviving. Someone had to carry the memories forward. Izuku turned toward the door. Outside, children were laughing. He smiled. "We did it, guys." The hangar fell silent again. But this time, there was no war waiting outside. Years later, Mars would become a symbol of change. The term human debris would disappear from official records. Children would no longer be sold as soldiers. Workers would be given rights. And Tekkadan's name would remain in history. Not as an army, not as a group of mercenaries, but as a group of children who had fought for the right to choose their own future. The monument in Chris would eventually become one of Mars's most visited landmarks. At its base was a simple inscription. They were children who refused to let the future belong to someone else. Izuku never considered himself a hero. Mikazuki never cared about the title. Orga had never lived long enough to hear it. But the people of Mars remembered them anyway. And every time children walked beneath the monument, their footsteps echoed through the same streets where Tekkadan had once fought. The war was gone. The weapons were silent. The flowers of Mars had finally been given room to grow.
Alright, now that we've gone through the entire story, let's move on to the key educational lessons and takeaways hidden within it. True loyalty protects the future of others. Deku's journey with Tekkadan shows us that real heroism in a harsh world isn't about seeking glory or blindly following orders, but protecting your family and standing up for justice. Through his tactical mind and unwavering empathy, Deku proves that even when trapped in brutal circumstances, holding onto your humanity, protecting the vulnerable, and fighting for a better tomorrow can break the cycle of oppression and leave a lasting legacy of freedom. Maybe that's all for today's video. Like if you enjoyed it, and leave a comment if you have any title suggestions for the next video. Alright, that's it, and see you in the next video.